What's up, guys? It's Kictor. Welcome to Scum Day Sunday. How is everybody doing? Someday over the rainbow, Scum Day. Man, okay, I can't, where the hell did the chat go? Okay, Kenzie was first. Hello, Kenzie. And Jessica, and the Wizard of Moss, and Demi, and Leon, I can't read today. Oh my god, I can't have, good luck reading the fucking book. Leandra, and Monster Enthusiast, and Braylee. And hi, Emma, and JT Joyful, and Demi, and Susan, and Tina. And Emma sent a gift membership. Thank you so much, Emma. And Kenzie says, Happy Scum Day. Hopefully this blesses me for a short week before seeing Stray Kids with Steph on Saturday. Also tried on dresses yesterday too. How did that go, Kenzie? Oh my god, that's so exciting. Leandra says, also remember to hit the like button to like the stream, not the heart thing in the chat. Oh, thank you so much. Yes, hitting actual like helps out the video. Kenzie, thank you so much for your donation. I really want to hear how your dress trying on went. Kenzie says, also Briarbox is sleeping, so I'm here to rep for the two of us. Aww. Oh, Kenzie says, it went super well. I did find one, but I'm not sure it is the one. Going back to that shop in a couple of months to see if I find one. Oh, nice. And Diana sent a membership. Thank you so much, Diana. You guys, if you'll let me complain for a moment before we jump into the scummining. I've had a good day all day, pretty much. It was a really good day. We got rid of some junk, like we called the junk removal service because we're still moving. As you can see, I'm starting to put things on the wall. I'm not so sure how I feel about that. I'm probably gonna move that. It's too reflective. I was rearranging some stuff with my desk, and it just didn't fucking work. And I have like 9,000 wires, so it was a ton of work. And so for me to have done that, and then for it to not have worked, and then have to redo all of that, I was already like, okay, that was a lot. That really sucked. But I was like, that's fine. It's okay. I got it done, all done in time for the stream. And then like the moment I set up the stream, I felt a twinge in my abdomen that I'm sure some of you may recognize. And I was like, oh no. And then the twinge turned into a cramp. I was like, oh no. And it happened. It's happening currently. And I sometimes get really, really fucking bad cramps. So I hope that I will not be writhing in pain this stream. I will definitely try to read as much as I can. But if I suddenly leave, you'll know where I'll be. Kate says the Crimson Rain has cursed you. Yes. You have Bingha's blood in you. Oh, I'd get a heating pad, but I also feel like I'm too hot right now. I took a bunch of pills though, so hopefully we'll be okay. Miss Rosie sent a membership. Thank you so much, Miss Rosie. I hope you didn't catch Con Plague. And CSZL, thank you for your donation with the recap. Cultivators and Demons versus Qianlin Jun merging realms, but who cares? Bing Cho are busy flirting. Good boy. And Shizun is mine. And more flirting. Sneakily held my hand. And Shang Qinghua was yeeted into the cave. Yes! Oh, that's a perfect recap. That is literally perfect. Oh my god, the good boy fucking sent me into another realm, man. That was crazy. Kenzie says, I found that mermaid dresses aren't my thing, but ball gown is my type of dress with a little sleeve. I sent you the types I tried on, and you can share with the chat, Kictor. Oh, nice. That's awesome, Kenzie. Sienna sent a donation. Thank you so much. And said a good stopping point halfway through the chapter is page 304, by the way, if you need to stop. Sunday Scum Day. Hell yeah. Oh, thank you so much. Miss Rosie says, so far, so good. No con plague, especially since I get my Lamonji dragon tattoo tomorrow. Oh, that's freaking so cool. That is so awesome. Oh my gosh. Kenzie says, also, Pookie, you gotta take care of you, so don't stress. Oh, don't worry. If the blood mites get too much. Oh god, I don't. Why now? Bowen Ty says, me too, I feel the million insects gnawing at my insides. Oh, brother. But we will be strong. We will be strong. Dark chocolate is the best. And my doll. Oh, I had 2 cookies and I had a coffee after dinner. Oh. Susan sent a membership. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, everybody, for sending the members. That's so nice of you. Thank you so much, Susan. Guanghui says, we're synced up. Oh my goodness, how many people am I synced with right now? This is crazy. Gabby Fest says, I gotta start using the mites as an explanation for Mother Nature. Kohaku says, kick coffee makes cramps worse. I didn't know I was having cramps when I drank the coffee. Oh god. Night Owl says, I did have a cramp earlier and was like, don't let it be so. Oh, Spark Major, thank you for your donation. Rip to Kictor, sorry about your cramps. Organized my bookshelf today and came to the conclusion that I simply don't have room. New shelf on Tuesday. Oh, that's exciting. That's awesome. I think I'm gonna put up the shelf, another shelf under the Kictor sign. Also, my dad helped me put up my guitars. Oh, I wonder if I can show you. It looks really cool. To see the other half of the room. Doo-doo. Doo-doo. Ta-da! Doesn't that look cool? I thought that looked pretty cool. That's exciting! You're getting a new shelf though, Spark Major! And Miss Rosie, thank you for your donation. Shark Week / blood mite compensation. Put it towards some snacks to feel better this week. Oh, thank you. That's so nice of you. I really appreciate that. Thank you so much. Quinn! Thank you for your donation, Quinn. I'm also a victim of blood mites. Started yesterday. Blood twinsies. Oh my god. I'm twinning with you, Quinn. I am twinning with so many people. Everyone in the chat is synced with you. That makes me the alpha. See, there's no Omega chair in here. I have changed. Moto, thank you for your donation. I feel the Shark Week pain. My uterus is like, maybe, and can't make up its mind right now. Oh my gosh. Okay. I also feel like when I was younger, I would always hear stuff about like PMSing or like girls being crazy before their period and like thinking that was so sexist and being like, that's so fucked up. Like, I've never felt like emotionally different. Lately, I feel like a week or 2 to 3 days before my period, I do feel a little bit crazy. Like, I do feel like a little bit more irritated than usual over like small things. And I like, cause normally I feel like I'm very chill. I don't get angry or irritated or annoyed by like anything. And like the other day I fucking dropped something and I felt it rise up in my body and was like, that's strange. And then I was like, I wonder if Shark Week is soon. And I checked my app and I was like, it is. Right? Isn't it weird? Like you can feel yourself be more irritated. It's crazy. Apparently, in Love and Deep Space, the boys can track it for you. Neko Me, thank you for your donation. Due to my PCOS, my cycle is a roulette wheel of if I get it or not. So here's to everyone suffering from their mites. Oh, brother, I'm sure you suffer enough as is. Oh, God, that's awful. Thank you so much for your donation, though. Oh, no, Rose City Kimono. Isn't it so, it's so beautiful how we can connect in this way, you know? Like, it's just so funny. Like, that feeling, like that first little, like, the little cramp feeling is just so recognizable. Like, it's unlike any other pain, and you just know. You're like, oh, fuck, you know? Oh, Marlana Kendall. Oh my God, thank you so much. What the heck? Oh my God, Marlana just sent $100. Thank you so much. What? They said just a little something. That is a lot something. Oh my goodness, thank you so much. I think my cramps are cured. Oh my goodness. That's so kind of you. Thank you so much, Marlana. You're amazing. I really appreciate that. Oh my gosh. I hope you never get cramps. Of any kind. I hope you never get a cramp in your foot. Or your side. Or anything. Oh my gosh. Thank you so much. That's a true Windmaster moment. Oh my goodness. Fans in the chat. Thank you so much. Oh my gosh. But Kate says blood money. The notification on my end was red. Oh my goodness, seriously, thank you. How are you doing? I'm blown away. Thank you so much. Chris Noir has been a member for 13 months and says, 13 months, we beyond the year now. Let's go. Oh, thank you so much for supporting me for over a year. That is so kind of you to do that and decide to support me every month. I really appreciate it. Thank you. Quinn sent a donation and says, a family that bleeds together stays together. We are one big bleeding family right now. Oh my goodness. Well, thank you again, Marlana, so much. I really appreciate that. Like, please know how much that means to me. I really am so grateful for you. Thank you so much. Jessica says, I'm due for the mites soon, and I'm so glad I stayed home from work today because I fully lost it and had a meltdown. Oh no! Well, at least that you were home. I'm so sorry, though. I wish I could just give everybody suffering from the mites a big hug right now. Big mite hug. Marlana says, don't mention it. Oh my gosh, you are too sweet. You're too sweet. Sienna sent a membership. Thank you so much, Sienna. Sienna, how are you doing? Sienna is good. Went to a few open houses yesterday because me and fiance are looking to buy a house this year. Oh, that's so exciting. Oh my goodness, house shopping. How fun. That's awesome. Stasia says, happy to catch the stream. I'm working on Sabrina Carpenter style boots. Done 13 hours of work and not even halfway done. Oh my gosh, that's a lot of work, but I bet they're gonna look amazing. I like thinking that Windmaster would like a lot of Sabrina Carpenter songs. Oh, Leo, good to hear that you're okay. Spark Major says, my sister made her dog a birthday cake. I am going to scream laugh. It's so cute. That is amazing. I've gotten, I got my dogs a cupcake for their birthdays before. I've been giving them little pup cups recently. And by pup cup, I mean I just spray a tiny bit of whipped cream on the floor. Kate says Hushwen's a Gaga fan 100%. Oh my god, is he one of her little monsters? Miss Rosie says, we had a Danmei and Heaven Officials Blessing meetup at the con and I got to meet Annika and she was so sweet. Oh, that's fantastic. Oh my god, that's so cool. You got to meet each other. That's amazing. Kate says him and Hua Chung are both little monsters. Sugarkiss says, I recently saw a Chinese game meetup with cardboard stands and it got me thinking if I should host a Danmei meetup near me. I don't know how to even start it. You should. All the Danmei meetups I've been to have been amazing, so that's awesome. Oh, if Meridia says if Windmaster is Sabrina Carpenter coded, Hushwen is Billie Eilish coded. Oh yeah, I think so too. That's a good one. I've definitely got some Billie Eilish on my Beef Leaf playlist. Cork, thank you so much for your donation. I too am suffering from blood mites. Oh my gosh. But it has strangely given me writing inspo, and I finished Scum Villain Alaska Part 2. Oh, fantastic! I sent it on Insta. I have also started writing 3 new stories. Oh my god, that is amazing. That is amazing. I am so excited to see Cork. Let me see. Shizen in Alaska. I don't see it in my DMs right now. Horror Girl says that's huge congrats. That's awesome. I'm glad to hear that. Oh my god. Hushwan to Shi Qingxuan. I'm the bad guy. Duh. Stitch finished reading Yuwu today, and we got the next chapter, or the next book of QJJ, Ballad of Sword and Wine, early today. Okay, I got Shizen in Alaska. Oh, it's a long panel. Oh shit. Is it Mobeijun the moose is shaking Shang Qinghua, the squirrel. Oh fuck. He's gonna kill him. And then that says, this is your fault. You did something. Change us back. He's gotten hotter, lost his mind. Stare. Wait, just put me down. We can talk. Sure thing. Splat. I don't have any idea what's happening. You don't have to blame me for everything. I hate this place. Well, it's not so awful. It's a lot more peaceful here. Oh my god, look at her. That's so funny. Oh my god. Says you're not a rodent. Not much of a change. What? Dude, that's amazing. Scum Villain Alaska AU is so fucking funny. That was hilarious. You're really good at making comics. Orion, thank you for your donation. Whenever I watch Scum stream, my YouTube tab decides to explode and die. Not my fault for having 1 million tabs open, I'm sure. I am also a 1 million tabs person. Oh, horror girl, I'm glad to hear that. Rose City says, with all my trepidation on reading Case File, I finally started it last week. Why am I enjoying it this much? All props go to Meat Bun's writing. Fantastic! Right? It's just so hard to vouch for, but actually reading it, it's very good and funny. Hey, Esper Lady! Kate says, by the way, I read a wild fic last night. Oh, do tell, Kate. Kate, you gotta read Case File. Come on. The amount of pregnant talk in the last volume should be enough for you. Kenzie says, I tried a purple ombre dress yesterday. Ooh, that's cool. Bye, Dr. Sprout. Spark Major says, I also need Kate to read Case File. Jessica says, come on, Kate, it's peak. Orion, I heard Mpreg. Cork says, I just started Case File finally. And the Wizard of Moss says, I'm halfway through Case File. Okay, friends. Shall we begin? Before the cramps take us all. Goodbye, Guanghui. Good luck at your show. Okay, could somebody please leave a comment on the video that we start reading at 7:25? Okay. And also, if you guys really want to get my attention while I'm reading, if you do @Kickter, it shows up bright orange on my screen, so it's easier to see. And as always, remember that I haven't read this yet, so no spoilers. But I love seeing you guys interact in the chat and like talk while I'm reading, and I love pausing to chat with you guys as well. And if you have any questions, remember this space is super kind and open and welcoming to any questions. No questions are dumb questions. Someone here will be happy to help you out if you are confused or if you can't remember something. Okay. Chapter 21, Always Together. With lightning speed, Shen Qingqiu grabbed a handful of leaves from a vine. He just charged into the cave with the rest when he heard a voice. So we meet again, Peak Lord Shen. Oh, Spark Major, thank you for your donation. At the back of the cave, Shin Mo had been stabbed into a crack within the rocks. That black chi and purple miasma they'd seen was pouring from its blade. Chanlin Jun sat atop a green stone, and not too far in front of it stood Shang Qinghua. Sunlight from the outside spilled into the cave, illuminating part of Chanlin Jun's body. Right away, someone gasped, drawing in a mouthful of cold air. Shen Qingqiu finally understood why Shang Qinghua had screamed so terribly seconds ago. Though the smile on Chanlin-jun's face was as elegant as ever, the right half of his face was near entirely the dark purple of necrosis, making his smile tremendously unnerving. His left sleeve hung limp, completely empty. It seemed the arm that had kept falling off could no longer be reattached. No, my favorite comedic bit! This dilapidated, near-decimated appearance was far from the final boss Shen Qingqiu had envisioned. He couldn't help but pay attention to Lo Binghe. Gay. But on that face there was only a tranquility that seemed almost wooden, and Shen Qingqiu couldn't tell what it meant. Chanlin-jun tilted his head. Less people than I would have thought. I expected it to be like that time on Bailu Mountain, with hundreds of masters all coming at me together. Wu Wang humphed. Look at that ghastly appearance of yours. Not to mention you're without even a single underling. Who would need that many people? I indeed have not a single underling, but I do have a nephew. The words had barely left Chanlin-jun's mouth when a green shadow flashed through the cave. Zhu Long silently placed himself in front of Chanlin-jun, shielding him. For some reason, this master and servant both gave off an air of wretchedness. Being unsuited to demonic energy, Chanlin-jun's dew mushroom body had deteriorated to the point of falling apart. That was understandable. However, Zhu Long's eyes too had yellowed, and his neck, cheeks, forehead, arms, just about any part of him that was exposed, now crawled with scales. The result was sinister and frightening, as well as deeply reminiscent of his half-man, half-snake form from back in the cave of Bailu Forest. Peak Lord Shen, he rasped. Yes, it's me, said Shen Qingqiu. How did you end up like this? And what connections do you have with this person this time, Shidi? Yue Qingyuan asked, composed as ever. Deep connections. The situation had only progressed to its current state with the heavy involvement of said person. Shen Qingqiu wanted to say something when Chanlin-jun raised his chin, squinting at Yue Qingyuan. I remember you. After thinking for a bit, he said with conviction. Back then, the Huanhua Palace's old geezer wanted you to help him with the ambush, but you ignored him, so you're the current sect leader of Sangchong Mountain. Not bad. Your distinguished self's memory is also quite good. Chanlin-jun smiled and smiled, then gave a sigh. If you were also trapped in a pitch-black darkness for over 10 years, unable to glimpse the sky or sun, with nothing to pass the days but for reminiscing over past affairs, your memory would be quite good as well. This time, no one answered him. Yue Qingyuan gripped Xuan Su, then struck at Chanlin-jun with a sheathed sword. Chanlin-jun barely managed to evade. With a rumbling roar, half of the cave wall behind him collapsed right then and there, opening up a large hole. Outside, there was nothing but sky, while swirling sand and loose rocks plummeted into the depths below. Cold air streamed into the cave as fine snowflakes drifted in a slow dance, dazzling the eyes. From the frozen river 300 meters below, one could faintly hear wave after wave of beastly howls and the sounds of laughter. Oh, the sounds of slaughter! The first wave of southern border demons had already landed. Let me guess. Baijian Peak is again fighting as the vanguard. Am I correct? Chanlin-jun asked. The dozens of people on the scene dispersed, then rushed him from various angles. At the front of the assault, Wu Wang swung his staff with fierce vigor, his movements vicious. Though Xuan Su slowly forced Zhu Long back, he still dutifully drew the brunt of the attacks. Chanlin-jun continued to sit upon his stone, completely at ease. I remember that you also waited until the last moment to draw your sword that day, he said to Yue Qingyuan. Doing the same now? Yue Qingyuan didn't answer. He was about to land a palm strike on Zhu Long when another sect leader stole in front of him and attacked first. Zhu Long neither avoided nor retracted, taking the blow head-on, but it was that sect leader who screamed instead. Shen Qingqiu's pupils contracted. Don't touch him, he yelled. His entire body is poisonous. In the chaos of battle, several people were poisoned, while several others were sent flying out of the cave by the explosive surges of demonic chi and spiritual energy. They careened out into the high altitudes, plummeting downward before they managed to flip themselves back onto their swords, thereby regaining their footing. Shang Qinghua stealthily snuck towards Shen Qingqiu's location. Zhu Long was overwhelmed by the excitement of battle, so when he glimpsed a suspicious figure creeping away, he flung 2 green snakes at them without thinking. Shen Qingqiu saw all this clearly. He flipped his hand over, ready to send out a leaf to save Great Master Airplane's life, when the 2 snakes were suddenly pierced in midair by a razor-sharp shard of ice. Mobei-jun appeared within the circle of battle like a wraith. He picked up Shang Qinghua, tossing him in Shen Qingqiu's direction like one would a little chick, then pummeled Zhu Zhilong with his fists. He picked him up like a little chick? In the ensuing 10 seconds, Shen Qingqiu witnessed what a real beatdown looked like. With Zhu Zhilong under Mobei-jun's crazed and relentless assault, the attacks besieging Qianlin-jun grew suddenly fiercer. Though Qianlin-jun was missing an arm and was only one against many, his poise wasn't at all diminished. Haha, why must you be like this again, ganging up on one person? Don't you think that victory won by unequal advantage is immoral? A sect leader attacked him. Against a malicious and demonic monster like you, who wishes to see the world burn? What morals are there to speak of? In the next moment, the sect leader's skull split open like a garlic clove, rent into multiple chunks. Qianlin-jun pulled his head back and smiled. Honestly, in the beginning, I had no malice, nor did I find fun in the idea of the world burning. I only occasionally crossed the border, coming here to sing songs or read books. It was quite nice. However, since I've already been in residence beneath Bailu Mountain for so many years, if I didn't follow through on something along the lines of your thoughts, I'd truly find my circumstances a bit too unjustified. CSCL, thank you for your donation. Tossing Shang Qinghua like a little chick only to then pummel Zhu Zhilong is such an underrated Mojang moment. It is beautiful. He tossed him over to Shen Qingqiu like, phew, and then Yue Qingyan flicked his finger. Xuansu sprang 3 inches from its sheath, its spiritual energy seething. The bones of Qianlin-jun's body cracked and popped, almost like his joints had been dislocated. He made a sound of surprise. As expected of a sect leader. Not bad. Your master was quite mediocre, but had quite the eye for disciples and successors. Then, Qianlin-jun reached out and grabbed Xuansu's blade directly, as if he couldn't feel a thing. But why not draw it all the way, he said with a smile. You can't do anything to me with only this much. He's like, you're gonna need more than 3 inches. Inora, thank you so much for your donation too! The gayest of yeets. It was a gay yeet. Gay yeet. Can I get some gay yeets in the chat? Yanara says, Qianlin-jun is so sad. He's literally like, well, I have to actually do what you accused me of, otherwise I was imprisoned for nothing. Yeah. He's like, you deserve this, because that's what I was imprisoned for. I just wanted to read books and sing songs, okay? Gate. Yue Qingyan's gaze hardened, and Xuansu jumped another ½ inch from its sheath. This is a little too gay for me. He can't do anything to you, Luo Binghe said, sudden and cold. But what about me? Qianlin-jun's smile hadn't faded when, suddenly, a stream of powerful demonic chi slammed into him like a blow from an axe. His remaining arm was blasted off from his body, then whipped outside the cave by a gust of wind, hurtling down and away from Maigu Ridge. Luo Binghe was finally taking action. Man, all Luo Binghe does is rip off appendages. Lily, thank you for your donation. Was waiting for a reason to finish my house cleaning because Shark Week hit me. Ouch! Same! But a Kickter Scum Villain installment saved the day. Woohoo! As a fellow Shark Week haver, I wish you the best of luck. Thank you for your donation, and I hope you enjoy. His gaze hardened. His signature move, arm detachment. Luo Binghe ripped off his left arm. He's alright now. In this father versus son rematch, it was finally Qianlin-jun's turn to be powerless to fight back. Luo Binghe's eyes were blindingly crimson, his face taut, and his attacks were ruthless, without the slightest hint of mercy. With both of Qianlin-jun's arms severed, he even began to look like he had been overwhelmed and backed into a corner. Meanwhile, after much difficulty, Zhu Zhilong had managed to break free from Mobei-jun. His face was a mess of blood and gore, but when he saw his master in trouble, he rushed straight over, like all the bloodlust had gone to his head. Right at that moment, Tianlin-Jun's demonic chi swept over Wu Wang, sending him flying as blood sprayed from his mouth, and Master Wu Chen ran to catch him. Zhu Zhilong was about to slam into him when Shen Qingqiu saw this unfortunate turn and swept in front of Wu Chen, shielding him. As soon as Zhu Zhilong saw Shen Qingqiu, a shred of clarity flashed through those bright yellow eyes, and he abruptly braked, disrupting his balance as he staggered and nearly fell. Just as he was about to detour around Shen Qingqiu to assist Tianlin-Jun, a beam of white light shot swiftly towards them. Zhu Zhilong's back slammed heavily into the cave wall. He'd been impaled through the chest against the rocks. Ugh. The long, slender blade buried in his chest belonged to Zheng Yang. Shen Qingqiu turned his head over to see Luo Binghe slowly withdraw his hand. Tianlin-Jun serenely stood about 6 meters behind him. After a short while, he gracefully fell to the ground. Silence. It was over? That easily? Part of Shen Qingqiu couldn't believe it. He'd barely done anything, and it was over? He patted Shang Qinghua's shoulder. Didn't you say Tianlin-Jun would be hard? Oh, he was plenty hard. Is this... Shang Qinghua was still in a state of shock. He is hard. Is this victory logical? No matter how hard the boss is, he shouldn't think about flaunting his power in front of the protagonist. Isn't that the widely accepted logic? The two of them looked around. They'd come with dozens of people with full HP bars, and now barely 2 or 3 were still standing. Shen Qingqiu looked at the 2 individuals who had previously regarded as the super hard final boss team. One was impaled against the wall and soaked in fresh blood, while the other lay flat on the ground. Together, they made a great match for a description like trampled and tattered doll and a puppet with its strings cut. He felt not the slightest bit of the exhilaration one usually got from beating a final boss. The more he looked, the more he felt that it was basically the same as bullying the sick and elderly, or shamelessly ganging up on victims using strength in numbers, and they'd indeed ganged up on these two. But who could have known that this would be the result? The boss's strength was way too far below what he'd imagined. Luo Binghe turned, expression tranquil with a drop of blood on him. Shall we kill him? He was referring to Tianlin-Jun. When Zhu Zhilong heard this, he grabbed Zheng Yang's blade, struggling to pull it out. A great deal of the scales on his neck had been scraped off in the battle. As he exerted himself now, blood flowed forth from his body in streams. Ever since Shen Qingqiu had learned of Gong Yixiao's death at Zhu Zhilong's hands, a knot had existed in his heart. But this image was too unbearable. It was difficult not to feel sympathy. Though Shen Qingqiu had been screwed over countless times by this bizarre methods of repayment, Zhu Zhilong had never shown him any malice. Shen Qingqiu sighed. Look at the state you're in. Why let yourself suffer so? Zhu Zhilong coughed up a mouthful of foamy blood and rasped. The state I'm in? He smiled bitterly. What if I said that my appearance on Bailu Mountain was my actual true form? What would you think then, Immortal Master Shen? It was like a bolt of lightning had struck Shen Qingqiu's forehead. What, so the slithering snake man from Bailu Forest? That was Zhu Zhilong's original form? Zhu Zhilong gasped for breath. My bloodline is lowly, all because my father was a simple-minded giant snake. I had this half-man, half-snake appearance from the moment my mother gave birth to me. Until I was 15, I was always hated and discarded, or insulted and driven away. If not for my lord, who helped me take on a man's form, even guided and supported me, I would have spent my entire life as a monster that could only wriggle on the ground. Oh. He gritted his teeth. My lord gave me my first chance to become a person, and Immortal Master Shen gave me my second. Perhaps to both of you it was only a small thing, no more effort than lifting a finger, but to me, these were favors I must repay, even if they cost me thousands of lives. And Immortal Master Shen asked me why I let myself suffer? Tell me, how have I suffered? Oh God. Tianlin-Jun suddenly sighed. Foolish child, why say so much to him? Though he was on the ground, his pose was still as graceful as ever. If you could remove the half of his face that had deteriorated from demonic chi, he would have looked even more elegant. People always believe that those of a different race have different hearts as well, he said leisurely as he stared upward. Even the person dearest to you can deceive you in the blink of an eye. Besides, it was only ever your one-sided desire to repay him. No matter what you say, he won't understand you. He'll only find it troublesome and refuse to comprehend. So why say so much? In a moment, everyone at the scene fell silent. Once a good and guideless young man, Tianlin-Jun had joyfully fallen in love, yet it had been nothing more than a sham. Then, for countless days and nights, had been sealed beneath a high mountain where there was neither sun nor sky. Who had the right to stop him from resenting them? Who had the right to make him let it go and look on the bright side? Yet Master Wu Chen said, if your distinguished self really possessed no malicious designs back then we are at fault for listening to slander. If so, this calamity today was something we could neither run from nor avoid. Those who sow seeds of evil will reap the rewards, for all will eventually come around. He brought his palms together, but even if it meant ingesting poison, Benefactor Su wanted to see you, so how can you condemn her for deceiving you? Qianlin startled a little, then raised his head. Shen Jingqiu was also stunned. He knew that Master Wu Chen would never lie, yet the version of the story he told next was completely different from what the others had known to be true. Back at Jiaohua Monastery, said Master Wu Chen, because this one didn't wish to subject Benefactor Su to criticism when she had already passed, and because this one promised to keep it secret, he was unable to speak the truth. The old palace master brought Benefactor Su back to Huanhua Palace by force. She absolutely refused to obey orders, refused to trick you into going onto the site of the ambush, where several dozen arrays had been set in advance. The old palace master only discovered she was pregnant when subjecting her to torture within the water prison. Forcibly aborting the fetus would have endangered her life, and on top of that, Benefactor Su was resisting with all her might. So the old palace master gave her a bowl of poison, that poison fatal to the demon race. He told her that as long as she was willing to drink it, he'd let her out to see you. Oh my god! Oh shit! Oh my god! Benefactor Su drank what the old palace master gave her, then left the palace alone, but she didn't realize that change takes but an instant, that the situation was already other than what she thought. The old palace master had switched the site of the attack to Bailu Mountain, where the two of you had met in the past. Qianlin was completely stunned. His body was mangled and blood still stained the corner of his mouth. Despite this, he struggled to raise his head, like he wanted to hear more clearly. There was an indescribable pitifulness to him. This one met Benefactor Su on the road to Bailu Mountain. At that time, it hadn't been long since she'd drunk the poison. She was covered in blood, and it dripped with every step she took. This one listened to the few lines she gasped out and guessed the general situation. Unable to bear deceiving her, he told her that several days before, Qianlin had already been sealed for all eternity. Only then did she realize that her master had told her a monstrous lie. Not only the location, but even the time had been false, all for the sake of making her drink that poison. In accordance with her pleas, this one helped her avoid the Huanhua Palace disciples who'd come to capture her, then escorted her to the Lowell River's upper reaches. After that, he never saw any trace of her again. Qianlin, Benefactor Su indeed might not have been a wholly good person. Originally, she stood high as the next Huanhua Palace master, with great expectations upon her. In the beginning, her decision to approach you might not have been made with good intentions, but afterwards, which was it? Did you maliciously bewitch her? Did she set you up and deceive you? Or were both of you simply unable to help your feelings? This one is an outsider, so he can know nothing of your heart, but what he does know and what he did see was Benefactor Su refusing to listen to the orders of the master who'd raised her for over a decade. Even when tormented in the water prison, she refused to say anything, refused to trick or harm you, if not as a last resort. What mother in this world would drink that kind of poison? It wasn't that she didn't care about you, but that she was without alternative. Yet the world is pitiless, and so you passed each other by. Oh my god. They were in love. That's so sad. Qianlin lips seemed to tremble slightly. A long moment passed. Then he said, "Is that so?" Right after those 3 words, he asked again, "Truly?" "This one swears upon his life that his words contain not a single falsehood," said Master Wu Chen. Qianlin turned his head to look at Shen Qingqiu, and Yue Qingyuan, as if seeking a confirmation, he asked, "Truly?" He didn't even care whether someone was in the know. He was just asking anyone he could. Unable to say anything, Yue Qingyuan silently lowered his head. It was unclear what he thought. Shen Qingqiu deliberated over it further, then finally gave a slow nod. Perhaps the old palace master originally had no intention of vilifying and harming Qianlin, but as he watched his disciple grow closer and closer to him, he must have regretted sending Su Xian to approach the demon. He'd allow her to leave his control and fall in mutual love with Qianlin, even conceiving Lo Binghe. so the old palace master had made up his mind. He distorted the truth and cherry-picked the details. His orchestrations transformed Qianlin into a matchless fiend who wanted to overturn the 3 realms, and so he'd brought ruin to so many lives in so many years. The smattering of snowflakes on Qianlin's eyelashes trembled with their movement. Then, like all his strength had suddenly left him, he lay down once more. He sighed. All right. In any case, finally something less terrible unfolds. Oh my god. Man. That's so sad. Shen Qingqiu turned his head to look at Luo Binghe. He listened from the beginning to end, but it was like he'd heard nothing at all, like none of this concerned him. He even let out a little laugh. With this truth out in the open, the knot within Qianlin's heart had naturally come undone, but to Luo Binghe, the cruelty of this situation hadn't lessened in the least. Regardless of whether it was because his parents hated him or because they had given up on him, in the end, he had been thrown away. Black smoke and purple miasma continued to spew from Shinmo without pause, and the sounds of slaughter from below grew clearer and clearer. Maigu Ridge's descent was still ongoing. Just how much distance remained before they reached the Luo River's frozen surface? Yue Qingyan took several steps towards where Shinmo was embedded in the wall. The situation has thus far unraveled, Shen Qingqiu said. Bring an end to this, Qianlin. If Qianlin stopped now, it wouldn't be too late, but if he continued to supply Shinmo with demonic qi, then their only option to prevent the merge would be to kill him, and now that was all said and done, Shen Qingqiu didn't particularly wish for Qianlin to actually die. After all, to end up in this state due to falling in love was really just unfortunate. To demand his life on top of that? What kind of boss is this pitiful? Yet Qianlin suddenly let out a stifled laugh, the sound echoing through the cave. Look, Peak Lord Shen, he said, tilting his head like he found something incredibly funny. As I am, I can't even maintain Zhuzhilang's human form anymore. At that moment, Shen Qingqiu didn't yet realize the meaning within Qianlin's words. He only felt something lurch within his heart. Having fought with all of you for so long, the toll on this body of mine was no small matter, said Qianlin, slow and measured. Who do you think has been sustaining Shinmo and supplying it with demonic qi all this time? His words were neither fast nor slow, but as they entered Shen Qingqiu's ears, each one seemed to plunge him into icy water, and his neck slowly stiffened. You should be telling someone to bring an end to this, yes, only that person isn't me. Qianlin's arms were broken beyond repair, and Zhujilang was impaled against the stone wall. Master Wu Chen was supporting Wu Wang, whose head bled profusely. Mobi Jun had Shang Qinghua dangling in his hold, and Yue Qingyan stood beside Shen Qingqiu. Only Luo Binghe stood directly opposite Shinmo's position, his head lowered as he leisurely adjusted his sleeves. Luo Binghe, come here, said Shen Qingqiu solemnly. Luo Binghe shook his head once. Only once, but very resolutely. You lied to me again, Shen Qingqiu said, dismayed. Luo Binghe's movements paused as he asked, Shizun, I said I would help you against Qianlin. I can kill him for you right now, and right away. So how can you say I lied to you? Qianlin smiled. Letting the enemy go to cover for one's own work, that was quite a good move, but unfortunately, I'm not very useful, so in the end, he had to take action himself. Upon hearing the words, letting the enemy go to cover for one's own work, Shen Qingqiu's heart became increasingly uneasy. Did Luo Binghe purposely give Shinmo to Qianlin? After all, Qianlin's dew mushroom body had deteriorated faster with Shinmo in his possession, so even if the sword was given to him, it couldn't have posed much of a threat to Luo Binghe. Perhaps Shen Qingqiu was too disoriented and allowed his thoughts to show on his face, because Luo Binghe said sorrowfully, Shizun, what are you thinking now? He did steal Shinmo. It's just that Shinmo still recognizes me as its master. You said before that you would rather trust me and accept the consequences than not assume you can't trust me at all. Why do you again not trust me? I've trusted you many times, Shen Qingqiu said slowly. Up until now, I still trusted you. Is that so? Said Luo Binghe, his face twisted into a smile. But I don't dare trust Shizun anymore. What? What's happening? What's happening? That smile was incredibly uncanny. Shen Qingqiu sensed something was wrong, so he softened his expression and tone. What's gotten into you this time? The moment he softened, Luo Binghe suddenly stopped smiling. His appearance was full of sorrow and despair. Shizun, I've said this before. The times you're with them are really when you're the happiest. To begin with, Shen Qingqiu had yet to figure out who them referred to. While Binghe slowly paced back and forth before the stone wall where Shin Mo was embedded, he laughed in self-mockery. Every time I asked Shizun to leave with me, you never agreed, not even once. When you did come, it was because I demanded it by force, not because you were willing. But when they ask you to stay, you never hesitate. He looked at Shen Qingqiu. Shizun, you don't smile often. I love seeing you smile, but whenever I recall that you only smile like that when you're with them, he said very quietly, it hurts me very, very much. What is happening? He's fucking crazy! What's happening? Oh my god! Shen Qingqiu finally understood them referred to Xiangchong Mountain. That day in the bamboo house, Luo Qingge had suddenly opened the windows to investigate, so it really had been because he'd sensed the hint of murderous intent in Lo Binghe had let leak while loitering outside, as well as his aura of rage and despair. Instead of leaving, he'd stayed to hear the laughter within the bamboo house, as well as that single of agreement, and he'd engraved all of it within his heart. That's why you're angry? Said Shen Qingqiu. Angry? Lo Binghe darkly spat out 2 words. I hate. Then, I hate myself! His pace quickened with his irritation, his hands clasped behind his back. I hate how I'm useless. I hate how I can never keep anyone. How no one has ever chosen me. Everyone in the cave was unable to make any sudden moves. Lo Binghe was currently maintaining Shinmo's energy supply, and nobody wanted him to suddenly lash out. By doing this, you mean to force him to choose between the two? Zhu Zhilong asked. Lo Binghe paused and shook his head. Choose between the two? No, that's not it. I know that if he chooses, Shizun definitely won't pick me, so it's fine if he has no choice to make. A slight flush infused his stark white face, derived from a kind of strange excitement. This time, I've learned my lesson. If Xiangchong Mountain ceases to exist, everything will be fine, right? That way, Shizun will only have me. Oh my god! Oh my god, he's crazy! Oh my god, he's gonna attic wife him! If he blows up the mountain, then he will only have me, and then all will be well! Master Wu Chen chanted sutras and pressed his palms together, saying Amitabha, then said, Benefactor Luo, you're possessed! Lo Binghe burst into loud, unrestrained laughter. If you leave him no choice, then of course you can't be abandoned, Master Wu Chen continued. But how will you deal with Peak Lord Shen's actions and behaviors towards you afterwards? Shizun, if Qingjing Peak is gone, I can build you another, Lo Binghe said gently. It's fine if you resent me. It's fine if you hate me. I won't make any great demands. If you're unsatisfied, you can hit me. Try to kill me. After all, I won't die. As long as you don't leave me. He spoke earnestly. Truly, I only have this one wish. Lo Binghe's smile was twisted, his pupils dilated, the blood-red irises rimming them periodically expanding and contracting. Shinmo overflowed with purple light. It was impossible to tell if he was controlling the sword or if the sword was controlling him. As Shen Qingqiu observed Lo Binghe's disoriented, chi-deviated appearance, a bitter taste filled his mouth, and he couldn't bring himself to speak. Other than Xiangchong Mountain, this world has thousands of things that Immortal Master Shen values, said Zhu Zhilong. Are you going to destroy all those as well? Yes, said Lo Binghe, smiling. Why not? He tilted his head, then suddenly exploded with rage. Shut him up! Mobeijun heard these words, thought for a moment, and threw a punch at Zhu Zhilong's face. Jianlinjun studied Lo Binghe, and pity flashed through his gaze. Shinmo has already invaded his mind, he sighed. He's gone mad. This was the one and only time since his first meeting with Lo Binghe that he looked something like a father. But Lo Binghe didn't notice at all, just nodded and smiled. Yes, I've gone mad. Oh my god, this is so good! We're getting his, like, super deep, insecure, crazy guy thoughts. Oh god. We were so close to being normal. Binghe, your trauma is showing. Yeah, truly. Hot demon yandere near you. Binghe might be starting Might Week. This is the kind of character Meatbun loves, truly. Oh my god. That's crazy. Oh my god. Sneaky Stitch in the background. Oh god, that was scary. Oh my god, I was like, no, surely not. I'm glad he's just possessed. But then we get to hear his super fucked up thoughts. Oh, it's so good. Upon hearing him admit to his lunacy, Shen Qingqiu's heart spasmed with a dull pain. Binghe, get away from that sword first, he said quietly. The further the better. As he gently coaxed him, he secretly placed a hand on Shu Ya's hilt, the action concealed by his wide sleeve. Lo Binghe laughed. It's no use, Shizun. You don't need to do this. The nicer you are to me, the more afraid I become. As he spoke, his right hand made a slight upward gesture. In an instant, Shinmo's purple chi overflowed. Zhu Zhilong spat out a mouthful of congested blood. The punch a moment ago had only shut him up for a little while. He calmly said, pitiful. Pitiful? Lo Binghe muttered. That's right, I'm pitiful. It'd be fine if it's out of pity, too. Will Shizun stay by my side just this once? Tears rolled down Lo Binghe's cheeks, and his pupils reddened as he gritted his teeth. Shizun, you've let go of me again and again. Always, always, anyone, anything. They all become a reason to abandon me, until sometimes you don't even need a reason. It's always like this. Suddenly, Shang Qinghua fell to the ground with a thud. Shen Qingqiu also unconsciously grabbed onto the stone wall. The entire ground started to shake violently. Maigu Ridge's descent had sped up. He's gone mad, Shidi, Yue Qingyan said mildly. How will you deal with this? I like how the fucking Peak Lord is like, yo, your boyfriend's crazy. How are you gonna deal with this? Like, would he not be more powerful? Lo Binghe sneered and backed up 2 steps, then abruptly grabbed Shinmo's hilt. The tremors became stronger and stronger. Looking out through the hole in the cave, one could see innumerable mountain peaks of different heights jutting through the rolling clouds. Shen Qingqiu was about to pull out Shu Ya when suddenly a blinding white light shone from behind him. Beside him, Yue Qingyan had drawn his sword first. The sword's howl ripped through the drifting snow in dark purple chi. Xuan Su had been unsheathed. Mobeijun saw Yue Qingyan point the sword at Lo Binghe and stepped up to fight. Xuan Su's spiritual energy surged, and Mobeijun was blown away before they even made contact. Mobeijun looked like he'd never expected that a day would come where someone would send him flying. In a flash, he'd been thrown off Maigu Ridge, that expression still glued to his face. Visual J, thank you for your donation. Says Shinmo, aka Heart Demon, is a demon that feeds off of the negative emotions that exist in the heart. Heart in Chinese has a different connotation. It's closer to the Western concept of the mind. It creates mental illness. Damn. Binghe got too close to the mental illness sword. That's cool, Jay. Thanks for sending that. And thank you so much for the donation. Orion says, Shinmo is not good for my boy. I can't believe Mobeijun just got sent flying, though. That's hilarious. In a flash, he'd been thrown off Maigu Ridge, that expression still glued to his face. Shang Qinghua seemed frightened out of his wits. He snatched up a sword and rushed forward, but Shen Qingqiu quickly grabbed him. What are you doing? Shang Qinghua roared. Fuck! He can't fly! With that, he leapt down. Shen Qingqiu braved the gales and flurries of snow to peer down through the rupture. He just managed to see Shang Qinghua riding his sword and catching Mobeijun, still 300 meters above the ice. Oh my god, he went to rescue him! After confirming he wouldn't fall to his death, I truly was picturing him as a little rodent just now. He just managed to see Shang Qinghua riding his sword and catching Mobeijun, still 300 meters above the ice. After confirming he wouldn't fall to his death, Shen Qingqiu didn't even give himself the time to sigh in relief and quickly turned back around. Lo Binghe and Yue Qingyan were already dueling. As expected, Lo Binghe's power was terrifying, but Shen Qingqiu hadn't expected a fully unleashed Xuan Su to be so powerful, capable of evenly matching a berserk Lo Binghe. Shen Qingqiu felt the fluctuating spiritual energy and demonic chi reverberate as they pressed on his eardrums and throat. He could tell that this cavern would soon collapse and rushed to the stone wall. He grabbed Shinmo barehanded and with a forceful heave yanked it out. Oh my god, look at the rescue! He's rescuing him! That's so funny. It's like Shang Xinghua, who literally like created Mobei-jun. Like that's my favorite character. Sugar Kiss, thank you so much for sending 5 memberships. This is amazing. I'm definitely shipping Mo Shang now. This is incredible. Mo Shang. Shang. Is it Shang Xinghua or Shang Xinghua? I've been saying it. Shang. Mo Shang. This little... So cute. Fuck, he can't fly! Gotta go get him. I love that. Orion, thank you for your donation. I always feel bad for Binghe. I want to adopt him. Me too. NCSDL says, iconic Mo Shang! Mo Shang moment. Leonera says, Shang Xinghua gave Mobei-jun ice powers and teleportation, but not flight, something everyone else has. His shadowy powers needed a weakness, yeah. Laura S says, okay, I stayed up until one of my favorite Mo Shang moments, but I've got to get up at 5 for work. Good night. Good night, Laura! His son / boyfriend, truly. Although he'd extracted the blade, Maigu's Ridge's descent didn't slow. Lo Binghe saw the situation and moved to seize the sword. Yue Qingyan didn't give him the chance. Using the tip of Xuan Su's blade, he carved a dazzling trail visible to the naked eye, as an enormous barrier marked with complicated incantations and seals formed an invisible cage, trapping Lo Binghe within. Seeing that Shen Qingqiu had already acquired Shin Mo, Yue Qingyan said sternly, "Go!" How could he go in this sort of situation? Shen Qingqiu immediately shook his head and was about to toss Shin Mo to Yue Qingyan when he felt something beneath him falter. It wasn't his legs that had given out, it was the ground. The cave had finally collapsed. On Maigu Ridge's second level, Shen Qingqiu dug Yue Qingyan out from beneath a pile of rubble. Sect leader? Xishang? Jiangmen Xishang? Yue Qingyan's complexion was slightly pale and blood trickled from his lips. He swallowed once, as if forcing down a mouthful of warm blood. He opened his eyes and glanced at Shen Qingqiu. Where are the others? The internal structure of Maigu Ridge was now like a disordered honeycomb, with cave after cave, all connected. Shen Qingqiu gave his surroundings a once-over. I don't see Master Wu Chen or Tianlin Zhen. They might be buried here, or they might have tumbled with the piles of rubble down into the other caves. He turned his head back. Xishang, when did you get injured? Yue Qingyan didn't answer the question. Do you have Shin Mo? Shen Qingqiu showed him the sword. Here, Maigu Ridge is still falling, but the merge is probably yet to finish. Xishang, take the sword. Head down and destroy it. With Shen Qingqiu supporting him, Yue Qingyan slowly stood. And you? Of course, Shen Qingqiu would head back to look for Lo Binghe, but he avoided the question. Xishang, this injury of yours isn't normal. Exactly what happened? Yue Qingyan provided an irrelevant answer. Originally I didn't want to, but in the end I'm an impulsive person. Shen Qingqiu thought those words strange, but he didn't have the mind to think about them carefully and continued to walk while supporting him. Xishang, can you walk? You head down first. Destroy the sword and have Mu Shidi heal you. Leave Lo Binghe to me. As Shen Qingqiu was supporting him, Yue Qingyan could stand with some difficulty, all while dripping flesh blood onto the ground. Thinking he was fine, Shen Qingqiu let go, but once he did, Yue Qingyan didn't remain standing for long before he unexpectedly collapsed again. Shen Qingqiu blanched with shock, then hurried to help him up. Jiangmen Xishang! Jiangmen Xishang! After a brief examination, even with his superficial medical knowledge, he could tell that Yue Qingyan's current condition was horrible. Yue Qingyan's expression was vacant, like he hadn't heard anything that Shen Qingqiu said. However, those times at Jinlan City and during Lo Binghe's siege of the mountain, I kept calm and took the big picture into account. Thinking back on it, it would have been better to be impulsive. At the sight of him so drowsy and about to fall asleep, Shen Qingqiu itched to pinch Yue Qingyan hard on the spot above his upper lip to wake him, but he didn't dare overstep, so he could only yell in his ear to stop him from passing out. Xishang, wake up! You weren't wrong! Yue Qingyan closed his eyes and shook his head. He drew a breath, then another violent coughing fit befell him, causing Shen Qingqiu to jump in terror. Blood flowed out incessantly with the coughs. With difficulty, he said, "Return Xuansu to its sheath for me." Shen Qingqiu hurriedly dropped down next to him. Xuansu's blade was still emanating a blinding white light. He returned the sword to its sheath, then held it out to Yue Qingyan. At this, Yue Qingyan's complexion finally improved somewhat, and the most arduous of his breaths eased. He stared at the hand Shen Qingqiu had used to handle Xuansu in a daze, then instead of taking it, said, "If I perish here, you must bring Xuansu back to Wanjian Peak for me." Shen Qingqiu was shocked. "What did you say?" "Perish? Yue Qingyan's injuries were so severe that he was likely to die?" "Xuansu is incredibly powerful, but I never draw it against enemies," Yue Qingyan said. "You must have attempted to guess why." Shen Qingqiu nodded. Not only had he attempted, many people had. "Xuansu is my life," said Yue Qingyan. "Do you understand what this means?" Uh-oh. Shen Qingqiu absolutely didn't, but he knew that it definitely wasn't just a figure of speech for loving your sword more than your own life. He also knew what Yue Qingyan's next words would, without a doubt, be a secret that he'd never told anyone before. "Sure enough," Yue Qingyan said, "every time I draw Xuansu, it consumes my life force." As soon as those words were said, Shen Qingqiu felt like the Xuansu he held instantly became 1,000 times heavier. No wonder Xuansu never left its sheath. No wonder Yue Qingyan never drew his sword, unless as a last resort. "Shishong, you... This was because of a qi deviation?" Shen Qingqiu said, stunned. By using his life force to channel his spiritual energy, he's bound his life to his sword. If not due to a terrible accident during cultivation, in which he'd entered a qi deviation, why else would Yue Qingyan cultivate this kind of unnatural path? Yue Qingyan said slowly, "At age 15, I entered Chongding Peak, my heart preoccupied and desperate for success. I failed in my venture to become one with the sword, falling instead into this state, a state contrary to my initial goals, which left me with untold lifelong regrets." As he spoke, the vestige of his color his coughing had brought to his face suddenly vanished without a trace. Shen Qingqiu hurried to interrupt him. "Don't talk anymore. This isn't the time to speak of this. I'll take you to Mushidi first." The two of them walked several painful steps before Yue Qingyan suddenly said in a low voice, "I'm sorry." Shen Qingqiu didn't understand why he was apologizing. Yue Qingyan had never wronged him in any way. If anything, it was he who should be sorry, always slacking off and screwing around. He'd even dumped a mountain of troubles on Yue Qingyan, forcing him to take responsibility and bear the headache of cleaning up his messes. But Yue Qingyan's next word would shake Shen Qingqiu to the core. "I'm truly sorry." Even his voice trembled. "Even though I wanted to return as soon as possible, even though I wanted to come get you immediately, I made a mess of things instead. You were right. In the end, I'm an impulsive person." I knew it. I fucking knew it. After that, Shizen destroyed all the tendons, bones, and meridians in my body, then shut me inside the Lingxi caves for more than a year. My entirety was broken down, to be rebuilt anew. I screamed, I yelled, but it was no use. For an entire year inside that pitch-black cave, no matter how crazed I became, how hysterical, no one listened closely to what I said. No one let me out. I pushed myself as hard as I could, but by the time I returned, Cho Manor had already been destroyed for some time. From deep within Shen Qingqiu's mind came the sound of something tearing. In that instant, all of Yue Qingyan's past ardent concern, his wordless protectiveness, all kinds of scenes, all manner of details connected within his mind like a merry-go-round, clear beyond compare. No wonder how Shen Qingqiu dug his own grave. The sect leader never made life difficult for him and instead remained infinitely forgiving, infinitely patient. No wonder the rescuer Shen Zhou had been waiting for never returned. Yue Qingyan, Shen Qingqiu, Yue Qi, Shen Zhou. So that's how it was. That's how it was. Oh my god, that's so good. That's so fucking good. Literally the scene where they're like watching the kids dig the graves, I was like, he lets him get away with everything. Anything Shen Qingqiu asks for, Yue Qingyan is like, yeah, no problem. And I was like, I bet he is that bitch from the story because he holds this extreme guilt. Oh man. Oh man. Chiga! Shit. Damn. Soul Dad says, could you or anyone in the chat explain what happened to Yue Qingyan? I know it's explained, but I'm still having a hard time understanding. I think what I've gathered is, so Yue Qingyan and original Shen Qingqiu, when they were kids, were not in a very good situation as is. And then Shen Qingqiu got captured. And it was because Yue Qingyan did something impulsively. Like, he tried to help someone, and that ended up Shen Qingqiu getting captured to become, like, a slave. And then Yue Qingyan was the boy that was in his memories that was like, I'll come rescue you, and I'm gonna go to all the different peaks and, like, become strong and rescue you. But it sounds like he became a disciple of a master that ripped out all his tendons and locked him in a cave instead? Orion worded it much better. He was the Chiga from Shenzhou's backstory, but Xuan Su messed him up so bad he couldn't get back to rescue Shenzhou before he burned down Qi Manor and left. He thought Shenzhou had died. And so that's why he let Shen Qingqiu get anything he wanted, and why it's because he has such a guilty conscience about not being able to save him. Cultivation backfired and Ichi deviated. I really didn't mean to not return, said Wei Qingyan. Only it really is true that the world is pitiless, and so the two of us passed each other by. With each line he spoke, the more violently fresh blood surged. Shen Qingqiu supported him by the arm, pausing twice as long for every step they took. Don't talk anymore, he sighed. He already knew everything that happened next. Just let me finish speaking for this one time, Yue Qingyan said resolutely. As you always say, sorry is nothing but an empty word, completely useless. I also never explained myself, but today I must let you hear. Not to ask for your forgiveness or sympathy, but because if I don't say it now, it will be too late. Oh my god, he's gonna admit. Shen Qingqiu's heart became acrid, his eyes hot. Too late. It was already too late. Shenzhou was no longer here. Maybe he died, or maybe like Shen Yuan, his soul had been transported into another world. But no matter which, he would never again be able to hear Yue Qingyan's words. Never, ever. The system sent out a series of notifications. Hidden Character 1, Jujilong completion rate, 100%. Hidden Character 2, Jianlin Zhen completion rate, 100%. Hidden Character 3, Su Xian completion rate, 100%. Plot hole filling target 1, Shen Qingqiu completion rate, 100%. Plot hole filling target 2, Yue Qingyan completion rate, 100%. Met basic criteria for character completion. The system's scan found no obvious logical gaps. B points per achievement plus 300. Total sum 1500. Congratulations! By upgrading rather a lot of things to roast, you have unlocked the achievement readable if nothing else is available. That's funny. Satisfaction points add 0. In this situation, you can substitute B points when paying for drop cost of key items. Do you accept? The chime of positive notifications formed a cascade, brimming with a joyful atmosphere, yet Shen Qingqiu had never been more depressed. He said, "What's the point?" Exactly what was this system? What was the point of its existence? So he could know exactly how unfortunate these people were? So he could personally witness the most tragic ways the world could screw people over? Or so he could drive Lo Binghe to insanity? Everyone said Lo Binghe had gone mad. Even he himself had smiled and admitted it. Shin Mo, which Lo Binghe had finally managed to suppress after a million words of struggle in the original work, had gained the upper hand in this struggle and invaded Lo Binghe's mind. This wasn't a result of 1 or 2 events, but a slow accumulation over time, until finally it had completely erupted. Numerous signs had long since made themselves apparent, but Shen Qingqiu had never noticed. Or perhaps he should say that he'd never realized that Lo Binghe was actually so insecure to the point of having an inferiority complex. First, he'd thought Lo Binghe was unbelievably cruel and evil. Then he'd thought Lo Binghe was unspeakably strong and bright. Looking back, the symptoms of Shin Mo's invasion of Lo Binghe's mind had appeared as early as Jiaohua Monastery. When Lo Binghe heard his backstory, he'd received a massive shock. In his moment of greatest panic, he reached out to Shen Qingqiu, pleading for his Shizen to leave with him. But Shen Qingqiu hadn't taken Lo Binghe's hand and instead had made Lo Binghe leave alone first. At that time, Lo Binghe's psyche started to grow incredibly unstable. What he'd needed wasn't a path of safe retreat, but to be together with Shen Qingqiu, even if he was trapped in Jiaohua Monastery and unable to retreat, even if he was surrounded and attacked by everyone present, either outcome was better than leaving alone. Oh god. Oh, this is such like a good message about like, even just like, you know, with mental illness, it's like, if you're with someone, it's much better than being alone. Even if you're by yourself in a better situation, but being with someone would be better than being alone. Oh, man. To a Lo Binghe in that state of mind, having to leave alone was as good as being thrown away, like he had been when Xu Xian willingly drank that poison. It was exactly as Lo Binghe himself had said. He wasn't forcing Shen Qingqiu to choose between two options because he was completely certain he knew the answer, down to his very bones, that Shen Qingqiu would one day abandon him. Oh god, the abandonment issues ran so deep. Nobody thought the abandonment issues ran that deep. His entire mind had flooded with terror and anxiety from speculating over something yet to happen. How could he not go completely insane? Oh, fuck. Yue Qingyuan's steps became increasingly unsteady, to the point he almost couldn't stand anymore. Shen Qingqiu had never seen the sect leader appear so weak. Yue Qingyuan had always been stolid and full of strength. Even if he never spoke too much or too little, even if he lacked any aggressiveness and was gentle and affable, he was also extremely dependable and dignified. Now, not only was he having difficulty walking, he even spoke more than usual. He likely really thought he wasn't going to make it. Shen Qingqiu was almost dragging him along by this point. As he walked, he said, "Jiangmen Shishang, hold on. You absolutely can't pass out. Everything will be all right in a moment." Yue Qingyan smiled bitterly. "All these years, you've never mentioned the past and only ever called me Jiangmen Shishang. Are you determined to never call me Chiga again?" The bones and veins in Shen Qingqiu's sword hand bulged. Yue Qingyan wanted to hear Shenzhou call him Chiga, but he wasn't Shenzhou. He dredged up the original flavor's cold and hateful energy, then adamantly refused. "I won't." He could not raise the flag. In dramas and novels, whenever a character achieved their final wish and finished speaking their last words, they immediately kicked the bucket, their desires satisfied. "I didn't hear anything you just said," Shen Qingqiu went on harshly. "Hold on, keep going!" Yue Qingyan closed his eyes and sighed. "Xiaojiu." "Don't call me that!" He didn't dare think about how Yue Qingyan had felt in the original work, after Lo Binghe chopped off Shen Qingqiu's legs and sent them to Sangzhang Mountain Sect in a brocade box. He didn't dare imagine what kind of emotions Yue Qingyan had held as he walked unflinchingly into Lo Binghe's trap, despite knowing there was no return, until he was pierced with 10,000 arrows. To think that a lifetime's single moment of loyalty actually had to be repaid with so much. Oh! Yue Qingyan was also in love with him! Damn! Oh my goodness. Visual J. "Thank you for being a member for 4 months," says Shinmo made all his insecurities worse. Yeah. Oh, man. And Yue Qingyan hadn't even been able to tell Shen Qingqiu the reason why he hadn't come to rescue him, the Shen Qingqiu who'd been full of resentment and terror, who'd helped Lo Binghe lead him into that trap. Why hadn't he told him earlier? It was just like Shen Qingqiu and Lo Binghe. Why hadn't he told him earlier? If he hadn't been so cavalier, so full of conjecture, Lo Binghe might have never darkened. He could have remained that sweet and bashful disciple he'd been on Xingjing Peak. Even if they backed up 10,000 steps, back to when he'd been forced to shove Lo Binghe into the endless abyss, Shen Qingqiu could have used a completely different method to achieve his goal. He might not even have needed to think about it. Only now did Shen Qingqiu understand that if he had wanted Lo Binghe to go down into the abyss, it was very possible that if he had but said the word, Lo Binghe would have obeyed and jumped. Shen Qingqiu had never considered this possibility. He hadn't believed that a person could be so foolish, that Lo Binghe could be so obedient. But the truth was that Lo Binghe really was that foolish and obedient. Shen Qingqiu had twisted and turned, taken all sorts of detours. He'd taken the far road and become utterly lost, not knowing how to proceed. Full of regret and sorrows, he could only sigh. If only I had known. But in this world, there was no if only I had known. As they turned past the cavern, Shen Qingqiu suddenly saw two figures caked in dirt. As soon as he made out the two round and shiny, bald heads, he blurted out, "Master Wu Chen! Master Wu Wang!" The short monk who was carrying someone much taller than himself was Master Wu Chen. One of his wooden prosthetic legs was missing. Walking along— uh-oh, we know who likes to rip limbs off. Walking alone on a single leg was already difficult, and on top of that, he had no hands to spare for a palms-together greeting. Refusing to be discourteous, he chose to recite some extra sutras instead. "Amitabha, Peak Lord Shen, we finally found you. What happened to Sect Leader Yue?" Ever since he'd closed his eyes, Yue Qingyan had been drowsily leaning against Shen Qingqiu. Shen Qingqiu said Jiangman Shishang was struck on the head by a rock. You can't explain the lengthy backstory of why his life's force is connected to his sword. He hit his head on a rock really hard. He just went bonk, yeah. He got a bonk on the head. What about Master Wu Wang? Injured by that Qinlin Zhen's demonic chi and unconscious for now. With the cave's collapse, those demons completely disappeared. Shen Qingqiu pulled out Shuya and handed it over. "Master, can I ask you to take my Shishang and Master Wu Wang and leave Maigu Ridge by sword?" "What about Peak Lord Shen?" asked Wu Chen. "I will deal with my own disciple," said Shen Qingqiu concisely. "If Peak Lord Shen is willing to calmly face him, there could be nothing better," Wu Chen said respectfully. "I'm ashamed of myself," said Shen Qingqiu, "but I wish to resolve these affairs before something irreparable occurs. I leave Jiangman Shishang to Master Wu Chen. After you head down, please take him to Chen Chao Peak's Mushidi. This Shen is deeply grateful." Wu Chen put down Wu Wang and received Shuya with both hands. He bowed, then suddenly said, "Inner demons arise due to obsession." And the phrase in Chinese would have said Shin Mo, which is inner demons. So he's like, I'm gonna go fucking get him. Shen Qingqiu startled. Is Master trying to say that to eliminate his inner demons, we must cure his obsession? But Wu Chen shook his head. If it were curable, it wouldn't be an obsession. I thought so too. Shen Qingqiu returned the bow, then spun around. But did any of you consider if I let him fuck me? Is that what's gonna happen next? Is that gonna cure his obsession? Like, I don't know what happens. I don't know what happens. But I feel like I feel like that was a pretty good guess. Like, I can see in Shen Qingqiu's brain being like, this will cure him. Oh, fuck. That's so funny. Oh, shit. CSCL says, Kekner, this is a very serious book. Oh. Oh my god. It just makes sense. I thought so too. Shen Qingqiu returned the bow, then spun around. Who'd made him the object of Lo Binghe's obsession? The interior of Maigu Ridge had collapsed into a complete mess. Before, there had been hundreds upon thousands of caves, sprawling and interconnected, but now half of them had crumbled within the tremors, the fallen rocks forming barricades everywhere. Shen Qingqiu wove through the remains, struggling to navigate the ruins. Suddenly, from within a giant pile of rubble, there came a feeble wisp of demonic energy. Shen Qingqiu called without thinking. Lo Binghe? It couldn't be that Lo Binghe was trapped here, having been sealed by Yue Qingyan's binding technique, could it? He leapt over to the pile and lifted the topmost stone slab. Underneath was a stretch of battered green scales. Small, loose pebbles tumbled off them as they rose and fell weakly. Zhuzhilang's snake form was coiled into a small fortress, and Tianlin Zhen lay in the middle, sheltered with the watertight hold. The latter's body had deteriorated even further, to the point it seemed his head would fall off any moment. He opened his eyes and looked at Shen Qingqiu, then even had the cheer to greet him. Peak Lord Shen. How is the situation with you two? Said Shen Qingqiu. I'm long since used to this, but Zhu Zilong isn't doing too well. Not doing too well indeed. Those two huge yellow eyes, once always as bright as lanterns, had begun glazing over, though there was still life in them. Quite a few of his snake scales had been scraped off, leaving stretches of red and black wounds that patterned his entire body. Shen Qingqiu helped remove the stones crushing the snake's tail, then realized that Zheng Yang was still stabbed into Zhu Zilong's body. He reached to grab the hilt, then yanked the sword out. Blood loss meant very little to demons. Rather, having Zheng Yang and its powerful spiritual energy stabbed into him would have done far more harm. Hasn't Peak Lord Shen always preferred to ignore him? Asked Qinlin Zhen. Who says I've always ignored him? Said Shen Qingqiu. It's just that sometimes communicating with him is difficult. How is he? Qinlin Zhen stroked the snake's triangular head with the stump of his arm and didn't answer. Instead, he asked, what will Peak Lord Shen do about the situation after this? Destroy the sword, of course. Shinmo's invasion has already reached Lo Binghe's soul, binding their lives together. If you destroy the sword now, won't that be the same as killing him? Then I'll think up another method, Shen Qingqiu said resolutely. Even if you're unable to stop the merge in time? Shen Qingqiu drew in a breath. If I can't make it, then that's that, he said irritably. We should do everything we can first, then worry about the rest later. At that, another smile finally appeared on Qinlin Zhen's face. He sighed and lamented. As expected, I can't bring myself to hate humans. Oh, fuck! I love Qinlin Zhen, man! Ugh. He's awesome. Shen Qingqiu didn't know how to respond to this line of his. It was joyful, yet seemed far too heavy. What about Lo Binghe? He asked to change the topic. Have you seen him? I thought Peak Lord Shen knew, Qinlin Zhen said, bemused. Hasn't he been behind you this whole time? Shen Qingqiu's hair stood on end, and he slowly turned his head. Sure enough, Lo Binghe stood behind him, eyes fixed unswervingly on his back. Oh fuck, that's amazing. Exactly when had he been standing there? Or perhaps the question was, exactly when had he begun following Shen Qingqiu? Lo Binghe smiled. Shizen, give me the sword. Shen Qingqiu maintained his composure and raised Shinmo. You can come take it yourself. Lo Binghe took a step towards him, then suddenly stopped. The corner of his mouth twitched, and his shoulders began to shake. Shen Qingqiu held the sword horizontally in front of him. What's wrong? Lo Binghe gritted his teeth. Get lost. Shen Qingqiu hadn't managed to respond when Lo Binghe pressed a hand to his temple, then lashed out with a spiritual blast. Get lost! All of you! Don't touch him! Get lost! Those words weren't meant for Shen Qingqiu, and the spiritual blast didn't strike him either. Instead, it grazed his shoulder, blasting apart the already pitted cave wall behind him. Qinlin Zhen offered a friendly reminder. Shinmo conjures illusions. Oh, he's real crazy now. Ooh. Even without him saying so, Shen Qingqiu had about guessed as much. At present, Lo Binghe clearly saw things no one else could. From his hand came haphazardly blasts of spiritual energy and demonic chi, as he specifically attacked the space around Shen Qingqiu, engaged in a brutal combat with a non-existent enemy. The mountain began to shake again, clusters of rocks falling down. Shen Qingqiu looked at the two people by them, who could be fairly described as the sick and elderly. Binghe, he yelled, come here! Though Lo Binghe looked somewhat dazed, he was still very obedient. Sure enough, he began to follow Shen Qingqiu. The one in front dashed with the wind beneath his heels, while the one in back seemed to drift like a wraith, though he somehow didn't fall behind in the slightest. In the middle of the chase, the system sent a notification. Lo Binghe's base anger points 300, multiplied by Shinmo's co-effect of 10. The current value is 3,000. Where's the key item? Shen Qingqiu roared. Hurry the fuck up! The Jade Guanyin! The Jade Pendant! Give it here quickly! Greetings! The key item is currently loading in. We recommend deploying another tool in the interim. Loading? The fuck? What other tools are there? Show me! Gentle reminder, the small scenario pusher luxury edition that you recently upgraded has yet to be used. Shen Qingqiu abruptly braked. In all honesty, to this day, he still hadn't figured out exactly what kind of doodad this small scenario pusher was, let alone how it worked. But based on his single experience with it before, it really did seem to be quite effective. Shen Qingqiu gritted his teeth. Give it here! Let this great one see just how epic and thrilling this luxury edition is. Bring it on! He just forcefully slammed the confirm button when the ground beneath his feet collapsed again. As he fell, Shenchingcho had only one thought. Fuck me, you call that a small scenario pusher? It's a large scenario bulldozer! However, even after a long downward tumble, while rocky shadows rolled towards him from overhead, none of the rocks from the landslide smashed into him. Someone was shielding him from above. Lobingho was completely out of his mind, his senses muddled, but even at a time like this, he used his own body to block the rocks for Shenchingcho. With a backhanded shove, he flung the boulders that had struck his back aside like they weighed nothing. He stared blankly down into Shenchingcho's eyes, and for a brief second, clarity seemed to flash through his pupils, but after a dazed blink, the murk returned. The dark red mark of sin crept over his forehead, expanding outward until marks covered the entirety of his snow-pale face, then continued spreading down his neck. Orion, thank you for your donation, and Orion says general trigger warning for some upcoming bits. It's gonna get wild. Ooh, okay. Shinmo had fallen beside them, and it seemed to respond to the marks on Lobingho's body. It glowed and dimmed, its purple light and black miasma circulating endlessly. Shizen? Lobingho mumbled. Said Shenchingcho. Blood trickled down Lobingho's forehead, and his voice seemed to quaver slightly. Shizen, is it really you? It's real this time? Asked Lobingho. Didn't you leave with the others just now? I saw you go. I won't leave, said Shenchingcho. Lobingho slowly lowered his body and pressed his face in the gap of Shenchingcho's collar. Shizen, it hurts, he said in a tiny voice. My head hurts. The tone sounded both like he was acting cute and like it really did hurt, very much so. Shenchingcho slowly reached out with both arms, wrapping them around Lobingho's shoulders. Then he gently patted Lobingho while soothing him like one would a child. Good boy. It'll stop hurting soon. If I'm good, I'll stop hurting, and Shizen won't leave me alone ever again, said Lobingho. It'll stop hurting in a moment. I don't believe you, Lobingho said quietly. Suddenly he exploded and yelled, I don't believe you! I don't! Seeing that he was having another episode, Shenchingcho grabbed his shoulders and abruptly lifted himself up, head raised. The angle wasn't right. Teeth clacked against teeth, making pain radiate through him. He kissed him! He kissed him as he was going crazy to calm him down. Lobingho's lips were sealed, but his eyes continued to stare forward blankly. He blinked once, then twice. Shenchingcho's eyes were also open. As their wide-eyed gazes remained fixed on each other, Shenchingcho internally thought this was extremely unsettling. After a while of just staring at each other, eyes completely unclosed, he finally gave in and shut his eyes first. With a flutter of his lashes, he pressed forward and deepened the kiss. Oh my god. Oh my god. Is it gay if you're preventing bro from chi deviating? Oh, this is so sweet though. Oh my god. Oh. His teeth and mouth were still ringing and numb from the collision. In truth, this act couldn't be called kissing at all, but gnawing. However, Lobingho was clearly very pleased with said gnawing. He bit all over Shenchingcho's lips like they were pieces of candy, his breaths growing shorter and shorter. Suddenly, he pressed Shenchingcho down against the ground. With a ripping noise, Shenchingcho's outer robe was torn to pieces. Shenchingcho moved to strip his remaining clothes himself. He pulled and tugged, sliding his pants down! Oh my god! Is this happening? Is this happening? Stop! Stop! I cannot believe he fucking is doing this himself. Shenchingcho's like, I know the cure. We're gonna do it. Oh my god! Oh my fucking god. Okay, I've read forward a little bit. Okay. With a ripping noise, Shenchingcho's outer robe was torn to pieces. Shenchingcho moved to strip his remaining clothes himself. He pulled and tugged, sliding his pants down below his knees, stripping his torso until only a loose inner robe remained, which slipped down to reveal one pale shoulder. Lobingha's hand ran along the collar and dipped inside. His entire body was searing hot, even more so than the time in the Holy Mausoleum, and his hand kneaded hard over Shenqingqiu's skin. Hot, in pain, panicking. Shenqingqiu knew what would follow. He'd long since made up his mind. Now he consciously flipped himself over so that his back was to Lobingha. He long since made up his mind? Though he had no experience with this kind of thing, he'd heard before that for the first time it was easier from the back. Even though that deep down he thought this position a little humiliating, he couldn't care about that much now. He'd done this out of consideration for Lobingha's convenience, but unexpectedly, he was flipped back around. Lobingha jammed himself between Shenqingqiu's legs, his entire attention wrapped on Shenqingqiu's face. Only a few inches remained between them, their steaming breaths intermingling. Something blazing hot pressed against its circumference, a little terrifying. Not unlike that of a full-sized ball. What ball? What ball? MXTX, I need you to show me the ball. What is the ball you are using to measure things? That one guy was 6 balls. He weighed 6 balls. Bingha's dick is the size of a ball. What ball? Reveal the ball! It's gotta be a baseball, right? A golf ball? How much does 6 baseballs weigh? A volleyball? A basketball? His dick was the size of one California kickball. Oh my god. A yoga ball? What is the ball? In Chinese, is it also just ball? Like, is it also as, like, confusing of just ball? Just plain old ball? That's fucking hilarious. Oh, okay, a baseball is also terrifying. There's nothing sexy about having a baseball dick. Quinn Silva says he came in like a wrecking ball. Oh god, he really did. He's probably gonna come in like a wrecking ball. Indeed. He can't be bigger than a baseball. That is horrifying. Oh, brother. Okay, here we go. The circumference was only a little terrifying. Not unlike that of a full-sized ball. Not just any ball, a full-sized ball. It's like, okay, picture a ball. You got it in your head? You're thinking of a ball? Okay. Picture that going inside someone. Okay. If something is a little bit too graphic to describe, I'm just gonna skip it. Lobingha didn't slam himself in right away. He was in a daze, but he still insisted on staring at Shenqingqiu's face while he pressed tiny scattered kisses to his cheek, little by little. Originally, Shen Jingqiu's nerves had been stretched taut, but with these subconscious actions on Lo Binghe's part, he relaxed a bit. He relaxed too early. Shen Jingqiu finally experienced what it felt like to be split in half down the middle while still alive. Out of his mind with pain, he kicked his legs out and jerked away. Lo Binghe clamped down on his waist and dragged him back. Shen Jingqiu's back scraped over the rough rocks, his flesh burning and stinging. The sudden eruption of agony wiped Shen Jingqiu's mind clean. Like a fish suspended out of water, he began to struggle violently. But the more he struggled, the less stable Lo Binghe's mental state became. His eyes were crimson, his breaths disordered, his mind in chaos. All he could think about was holding on to Shen Jingqiu and thrusting himself into a hilt. Ugh. Oh, God. The description is awful. Shen Jingqiu braced his hands against Lo Binghe's chest, but the iron grasp on his waist left him unable to move. His legs were pressed back against his chest. He was powerless to stop his insides from being forced open. He swallowed down his screams, doing his best to relax and open himself more. Let Lo Binghe slide himself into his depths. Okay, so it's literally like, it's so painful, he's going crazy, but he's also like trying to open himself more, he's trying to let him in more. God. Once everything was inside, Shen Jingqiu felt like he'd been impaled by a rod of hot iron, nailed alive to a sacrificial stone. Lo Binghe seemed to have finally found some small sense of security. He grasped Shen Jingqiu's hair, lifting and kissing it. Though he could ignore the sting of his scalp, the shift in position gave Shen Jingqiu the terrifying, if mistaken, impression that his insides were being jostled. In his stupor, Lo Binghe knew no restraint. He only knew his exhilaration and fucking went at it, man. After over 100 uneven thrusts that alternated between fast and slow, he finally managed to smoothly and continuously... Shen Jingqiu's eyes flooded with hot tears. It hurt so much. He was trembling from the pain, but he didn't forget what he should do next. He sent forth his spiritual energy, drawing the surging demonic chi within Lo Binghe's body into himself. This technique was incredibly stupid, but it was also incredibly effective. As Lo Binghe was supplying Shen Mo with demonic chi, by drawing a portion of it into himself, it no longer received enough power, so Maigu Ridge's descent naturally couldn't continue. Shen Jingqiu took that object as it viciously slammed him in and out. Nothing had ever breached this place before, and the tender Lo Binghe was enthusiastic, clutching at Shen Jingqiu and refusing to let go. His cheek rubbed against Shen Jingqiu's head, the action both docile and meek, but his bottom half told an entirely different story and could have been called savage. Shen Jingqiu could barely breathe within his grip, and his right hand clawed at the rocky ground, leaving behind trails of blood. Each breath he struggled to draw stuttered and caught as he gasped down air. He couldn't hold on. He really couldn't hold on anymore. Just as his head swam, his vision growing darker and darker, a faint beam of light flashed by him. There was a crisp clang of something hitting the ground, right next to Shen Jingqiu's bare shoulder. Alarmed, Lo Binghe looked up, and for a brief moment he seemed disoriented. Then his pupils abruptly shrank into pinpoints. The blurry scene before him gradually focused and came together, becoming clearer and clearer. He slowly lowered his head, and all the color drained from his face on the spot. Shen Jingqiu lay below him, his robes torn into countless pieces. His legs were trembling, unable to close, his eyes frightfully red like he was on his last breath. Lo Binghe reached out, wanting to touch him, but also not daring to. His hand remained frozen in midair as he muttered, "Shizen?" Once he heard Lo Binghe finally call him Shizen as normal, Shen Qingqiu seemed to come alive, and he gasped in a breath. Unfortunately, due to how strained his breath was, it almost sounded like a sob. Lo Binghe was stunned. "Shizen, what? What did I do?" Bro, okay, someone fucking said, like, Meat Bun definitely read Scum Villain and was inspired to write Arha, and I was like, how? There are quite a few parallels. It's different, it's definitely different, but also I could see this being inspiring. Shen Qingqiu wanted to clear his throat to lighten the mood a little and say something like, "You didn't do much, just your shizen." That's hilarious. However, the result was that he didn't manage to clear his throat and rather coughed up a mouthful of blood. Both of them froze in shock at the sight. Shen Qingqiu's tears hadn't had the chance to come out before Lo Binghe's began falling first. They plopped onto Shen Qingqiu's cheek, sliding down the curve of it. In the past, Shen Qingqiu's greatest fear had been women crying, and now his greatest fear was Lo Binghe crying. He ignored the pain in his bottom half and wiped at Lo Binghe's face, comforting him like he was soothing a child. "Don't cry, Lo Binghe's tears fell like the pearls cut from their string, rolling down along his shoulder. He helplessly held Shen Qingqiu with one arm while muttering, "Shizen, don't hate me. I didn't know. I never wanted to hurt you. Why didn't you push me away? Why didn't you kill me?" Shen Qingqiu stroked his back gently, again and again. This master knows. This master was willing. He soothed him, but within his heart was endless bleakness. He was the one who'd been wrecked, all right? So how come the guy who wrecked him was crying harder than he was? What was with this reversal, where the guy who got fucked had to comfort the one who'd fucked him? A Lo Binghe who'd lost his virginity was even more demanding than a young maiden who'd lost hers. "Then, if you'd pull out first," Shen Qingqiu said helplessly. Lo Binghe's eyelashes still hung heavy with tears, but he couldn't afford to worry about his shyness or how he wasn't done crying, and he pulled out with utmost care. He stared blankly at the horrible sight between Shen Qingqiu's legs, his face growing increasingly pale. Even so, he carefully tidied up Shen Qingqiu's inner robe, then draped his own outer robe on top of him. Shen Qingqiu didn't dare look down himself. He slowly closed his legs, the muscles of his face twitching as he did so. Still, he did his best to school his expression into something less pained. To divert Lo Binghe's gaze and attention, Shen Qingqiu reached out and picked up the jade guanyin beside him, then gestured at Lo Binghe to lower his head. Lo Binghe stammered. I see that. I see, okay. Damn. I thought I'd long since lost it. I thought I'd never find it again. Shen Qingqiu helped to loop the red string around his neck. "Hold on to it from now on. Don't lose it again." "After Shizen rescued me that time, could it be that he's kept it with him ever since?" Lo Binghe mumbled. It had been in the system's storage system the entire time, so saying that he couldn't be couldn't be considered wrong, right? Once he thought this, Shen Qingqiu feebly nodded once. Lo Binghe's arm around him slowly tightened. As his tears continued to flow, he suddenly noticed that the marks on his arm were rapidly receding. His blazing hot forehead and cheeks were also cooling at an incredible speed. Stunned, he said, "What are you doing?" And there's a picture of him putting the necklace on him. Oh my god, poor Binghe. Oh, sorry, Shizen. 07. Truly, the deepest of 07s. Shen Qingqiu hugged him firmly, forcefully locking Lo Binghe against the crook of his arm so he couldn't flail around. "I'm not doing anything," he said lowly. "Like I told you, it'll stop hurting soon, so be good and don't move." Lo Binghe's voice cracked. Shizen, are you gonna do what you did last time and use your own body to draw away Shinmo's demonic chi? The last time he referred to was the time when Shen Qingqiu had self-detonated. It must have left an enormous impact on him. It's different this time, Shen Qingqiu said. Lu Binghe slowly clenched his fist. Different how? He asked, voice quavering. Shizen, how can you do this to me? To think you would actually do the same thing a second time, for the sake of other people. Do you feel that I can watch you do this sort of thing right before me again? I should have realized long ago that none of you would ever choose me. Every single one of you would rather throw me away. Listen to me, Lu Binghe, Shen Qingqiu said severely. Sure enough, Lu Binghe held back his tears and obediently listened. In order to give birth to you, Xu Xian fought to the death. Lu Binghe, oh Lu Binghe, why did you never consider it? Given the kind of person the old palace master was, would he have given his disciple a gentle, harmless drug? It must have been a drug that was absolutely fatal to demons. If she had really given in and obediently taken it, even if you hadn't died, how could you have peacefully grown up, unharmed, into what you are today? Lu Binghe's shoulders trembled. Shen Qingqiu made sure to emphasize every word. If I were her, no matter how venomous that drug was, I would have drunk it down without hesitation, then escaped the water prison. Afterwards, I would draw all its effects into my own body, no matter how agonizing the process, no matter if the price would be the complete destruction of my martial aspect, no matter if it meant a horrible death, I absolutely would not allow my child to suffer even an ounce of harm. Oh. Oh, Binghe's mom loved him. Oh. This is my conclusion. You can think that it's only a theory because there's no longer anyone who can tell you what Xu Xian was thinking before she breathed her last. But if she really had seen you as her shame, she wouldn't have needed to do a thing. Those were the coldest days of the year, with ice and snow everywhere. If she'd thrown you into the Luo River, could you have survived? Or she could have kept her bright and boundless future as the head disciple of Huanhua Palace and continued to drink any fresh poison the old palace master gave her. Then she wouldn't have needed to flee the prison in disgrace or hide from the Huanhua Palace disciples who searched for her. Moreover, if giving birth to you on that lone ship, she hadn't taken off her outer robe and swaddled you in it, if she hadn't used the last of her strength to place you in that basin and push you out and away, you would never have lasted long enough for someone to rescue you. You would have become a mere lone spirit frozen to death upon the Luo River. You're alive, right here and now, so how can you just listen and believe what others say when they claim that your mother was cold and heartless, that she didn't truly want you? Having said all this in one go, Shen Qingqiu was now short of breath, and there was the sensation of demonic chi rampaging through his limbs and bones. He used his remaining strength to clutch Lu Binghe's wrist. I'm not drawing away Shinmo's evil energy for anyone else, or anything else. I do it for you and only you, he said. I don't want to see a Lu Binghe who spends the rest of his life controlled by Shinmo, whose mind is lost to corrosion, with illusions haunting him for all eternity. This master's expectations are for you to be alive and clear-minded, strong and healthy, he said softly. So don't say that no one wants you, or that no one will choose you, ever again. As Lu Binghe knelt by Shen Qingqiu's side, his eyes could finally bear the weight of his tears no longer, and they rolled down his face like he was a child who'd been wronged. He had only ever been a child, walking the world alone, tripping and stumbling countless times, wanting only those few things, yet never able to grasp them. If only Shen Qingqiu had realized this earlier, he'd thought, he'd have definitely. But like he'd said before, within this world there had never been any such thing as, if only I had known. Lu Binghe suddenly broke out into a tearful smile. He grabbed Shen Qingqiu's hand with his own and held it to his cheek, then with his other hand picked Shinmo up from the ground. The blade, still circulating with purple light, let out a terrifying shriek. Next to Shen Qingqiu, there came the sound of something tearing inch by inch. Shizen, I know why you said all those things. Lu Binghe stared unswervingly at Shen Qingqiu, the corner of his mouth tugging up a little. However, if Shizen is no longer here, if the only person in this world who holds these expectations of me no longer exists, then me being alive and clear-minded, healthy and strong, what meaning would any of that have? Lu Binghe's fever seemed to have infected him too. Shen Qingqiu was feeling a little dizzy. In his daze, he almost couldn't hear what Lu Binghe was saying anymore, and he was unable to stop Lu Binghe as he destroyed the sword. Dimly, he had the thought that this was fine. Dying together also included together. It didn't seem that bad. But then came a voice that he could still hear clearly. Congratulations! By hitting target values in all categories, the honored customer has been upgraded to a beginner level VIP account. Would you like to activate the high level ability self-saving? It's right in the title of the fucking book! Oh my god. Title drop, roll credits. That was so romantic. Dying together also included together. It didn't seem that bad. Proud Immortal Demon Way was a male power fantasy of a stallion novel. Since the very beginning, the author, Great Master, airplane shooting towards the sky, had been very certain when it came to this matter. Furthermore, Shen Qingqiu was an unabashed straight man, one whose straightness the heavens themselves could attest to. Since his birth, he had also been very certain when it came to this matter. So, if back when he'd just opened this baffling book, this Proud Immortal Demon Way, which was so full of landmines that it was practically high art, to the point that those landmines had become its very style, if, back then, someone had said to Xuan Yan, "Oh, you'll go gay. Plus, you'll be going gay with the novel's male lead, and on top of that, you'll even lie down and surrender yourself to him," he would have definitely grabbed the brick that was the entire 50-volume set and showed them what their brains looked like when splattered across the ground. Now, he drifted within the virtual space he'd passed through back when he first entered this world, and he was listening to the system's friendly Google Translate-like voice, the same as it had always been, echo in every corner. Greetings! Though through your tireless efforts and active cooperation, all point values have met their upgrade targets. The system is very pleased to inform you that this honored customer has already been upgraded to a beginner-level VIP account. At this time, we will specially remind you that VIP accounts may activate the high-level ability Self-Saving. In the event that your HP falls below the lowest value, you'll have a one-time opportunity to restore your life bar to full. Restore his life bar to full? This VIP's treatment is really fucking kind, huh? About that, said Shen Qingqiu, this self-saving ability can only be used once, and only on myself? Your understanding is correct. An incredibly serious problem instantly occurred to Shen Qingqiu. He'd already drawn the majority of Lo Binghe's demonic chi into himself, so even if Shin Mo was destroyed, it wouldn't affect Lo Binghe. However, because they both thought he was probably done for, that child had sobbed about wanting to die with him as well. If Shen Qingqiu used this self-saving ability, Lo Binghe had better not go and foolishly kill himself to be with him. Oh my god, the Romeo and Juliet sit. What about Lo Binghe? Said Shen Qingqiu urgently. How is he now? With your present access, you are not permitted to inquire about issues related to the central power source. Would you like to see your achievement history? Why couldn't he inquire if he was already a VIP member? Shen Qingqiu was out of his mind with worry, but if he couldn't, he couldn't, and if the system wouldn't let him, it wouldn't let him. No matter how anxious he was, it was useless. The system persisted relentlessly. Would you like to see your achievement history? So basically, he had no choice but to look at this thing. Shen Qingqiu waved his hand. I'll look. Hurry up and show me. Accompanied by a burst of joyful, bubbly background music, the system unrolled a list of achievements. Avoided more than 20 landmines. The Laden with Landmines tag was removed. Unlocked the achievement, Rather a Lot of Things to Roast. Highest B-point balance exceeds 5,000. Unlocked the achievement, Readable if nothing else is available. Encountered more than 3 explosions of third-rate melodrama. Unlocked the achievement, Mirrored in Melodrama. Cut away extra padding and irrelevant side plots. The Peerless God of Filler tag was removed. Patched in all hidden characters and filled in all basic plot holes. The holes everywhere tag was removed. Total satisfaction points surpassed countable limits. Unlocked the achievement, Good Enough for a Jerk-Off. You had achieved the system's recommended standards. A one-line summary. The story of a love-sick, love-deficient Chunbyo who tried to destroy the world. Chunibyo. Chunibyo. What is that? Chuunibyu. It's like an emotional teen. Okay. When Shenqingqiu read this line, he could only stare in silence. What kind of rebuttal could he even make to that? Goodbye. Thinking about it more closely, ever since he'd entered this book, Proud Immortal Demon Way really had been transfigured from a male fantasy stallion novel with no bottom line into a convoluted, hyper-melodramatic love story full of ups and downs, starring a pure-hearted nutjob of a male virgin. Looking at this column of sparkling awards, Shenqingqiu suddenly realized that in the top left corner of the list was a small pink symbol. He knew what the male symbol meant, or he knew the male symbol meant men, while the female symbol meant women, and he thought this a bit strange. What does this symbol refer to? It indicates that all the achievements on this list are women-oriented honors. You've got to be kidding. Proud Immortal Demon Way's genre has already been revised. Oh my god. Wait, why had it been categorized as women's fiction? So that was why this bizarre melodramatic storyline had still managed to acquire so many awards? Because it'd already been categorized as women-oriented? And so it had been scored according to the standards of women's fiction? And why did women's fiction have an achievement like good enough for a jerk-off? What were they jerking off? Could it be that the story had been moved from Zhongdian Literature's main site to the women's section? Or even more terrifying, after changing sites entirely, had it been tossed into the infamous Green Sea of Jinjiang? At this moment, upon realizing the truth, a giant mouthful of blood, which Shenqingqiu had been keeping down since his first day of transmigration, which he'd managed to suppress for many years, finally sprayed out like a fountain. With this, a crowd of dark faces zeroed in around him, robes rustling. You are Yaoi himself. That's so funny. Oh my god. Ning Ying Ying, Ming Fan, Chi Ching Chi, Mu Ching Fan, an entire gaggle of people squeezed right up to him, all taking at once and saying things like, "Oh no, Shizen's coughed up blood. Will Shizen die?" And no, once he's coughed it up, he'll be fine. Cold, damp walls surrounded him via the two small candles. Shenqingqiu just managed to recognize the location as the Lingxi Caves when the bouncing echoes made his head spasm with pain. He couldn't hear anything clearly and hunched over, clenching his head. Then came Luo Qingge's voice. "Go away, all of you!" As soon as he spoke, everyone else immediately shut up. The junior generation stuck out their tongues and retreated unhappily. The space they left behind was taken up by Luo Qingge. He stood next to the stone bed, arms crossed. Having finally seen someone reliable, Shenqingqiu grabbed him. "Where's Luo Binghe?" Luo Qingge's face was dark. "He's dead!" Dead? No! Had he really gone and foolishly committed a lover's suicide? Luo Qingge didn't seem to be telling a joke, and neither had he really ever joked around. Shenqingqiu abruptly sat up, but his movements were simply too fast, and a dull pain suddenly radiated from his bottom half. His face twisted immediately, then with a thump, he fell back down. This reaction of his was too over the top. Luo Qingge seemed to have received a massive shock, and he stumbled back 3 steps. Then he turned about awkwardly, as if he wanted to walk back up and say something, but also like he wanted to just up and flee. Chi Ching-chi grabbed him. "Look at what you've done!" she shrieked. "Look! What did you do that for? We told you not to scare him, and now you've gone and scared him so much he fainted!" While lying on the stone bed, Shenqingqiu raised his hand. "I didn't faint, It was just that a certain place hurt, so he'd slipped." In the past, little had scared Ning Ying Ying more than the Baijian Peak Lord, but this time she bravely snapped at Luo Qingge, stomping her feet. "Liu Shushu, how could you do that? Even if you don't like Aluo, you know Shizen has just woken up and can't take too much excitement. And you still said something so irresponsible, cursing him by claiming he is dead." Mu Qingfan's face was also full of reproach. "Liu Shishang, you really shouldn't act like that towards a patient. It's not good at all." This was Luo Qingge's first mass scolding. He'd never been good with words, so he simply retreated to the table and burst out with a, "I'm not talking anymore!" Shen Qingqiu pressed one hand to his temple, then the other on his waist. Somebody tell me already, is he dead or not? Oh my god, yeah, Lo Qingge, for fuck's sakes. Oh man. God. What made him think saying he's dead was the right thing to say? I mean, he probably also saw what he did to Shen Qingqiu and was like, fuck that guy. Oh man. I'm not talking anymore. Lo Qingge is still processing things, I fear. Yeah. He's not, Qi Qingqi said. That brat thought you were done for and almost tried to follow you, but right before Mu Shidi said you were fine and still breathing. How could he bear to die then? Thank God they hadn't passed each other by in another twist of fate. No one could take another one of those unfortunate coincidences. Shen Qingqiu knew that Lo Qingge had just been venting his anger, but he really had been scared stiff for a few seconds. Peak Lord Luo, could you not? He criticized him, feeling like he'd lost some face. I asked you first because I trusted you. You really disappointed me. Lo Qingge glared at him. Shen Qingqiu wasn't afraid of him glaring. He slowly sat back up and picked a position that wouldn't put too much painful pressure on the key body part in question. What happened exactly? How did I return to Qingjing Peak? What happened to Maigu Ridge? Where's Lo Binghe? Don't worry about Maigu Ridge, said Qi Qingqi. It exploded some time ago. Exploded? Shen Qingqiu echoed. Didn't you and Lo Binghe destroy Shin Mo with Maigu Ridge? Qi Qingqi asked. When the sword broke, the entire mountain exploded. Mingfan popped his head in at the bedside. That's right, Shizun. Half the mountain smashed into ice and left a huge hole. Afterwards, the Lo River thawed. You and Lo Binghe both fell into it. It was Lo Shushu who fished the two of you out. Lo Qingge fished the both of them out. Shen Qingqiu was in the process of taking the tea Ning Yingying had offered and getting ready to drink it. Good thing he hadn't, because otherwise he'd definitely have spewed it everywhere. The two of us? Shen Qingqiu guiltily glanced at Lo Qingge out of the corner of his eye. If he hadn't remembered wrong, and how could you misremember something like that? He and Lo Binghe had just finished doing that thing! Though Lo Binghe had put his robe on Shen Qingqiu after, the proof of guilt would have remained on his body, and with Lo Qingge's razor-sharp vision, it would have been stranger if he hadn't seen anything wrong. No wonder Lo Qingge had been looking at him with such severe expression the entire time, like he was raring for some disciplinary action. Shen Qingqiu had offended public decency and brought shame to their sect. He finished up the two of you in one go, Qi Qingqing prattled on. You were clutching each other like stiff corpses and impossible to separate. So many people were watching. Aren't you ashamed? Our respected Sangchong Mountain. Oh my god. So they'd been in plain view of everyone. That was really... Shen Qingqiu was filled with 10,000 regrets. Even after all his efforts, he still hadn't been able to stop the regret of Chun Shan from acquiring new material. But to think that Lo Binghe, with his thought process, hadn't simply gone and absconded with him, he'd even docilely sent him back to Qingjing Peak, that was really profoundly strange. Thinking this too unusual, Shen Qingqiu persisted in his questions. Then where exactly is Lo Binghe now? In the end, it was still Ning Yingying who was the most obedient and filial. Shizun, you slept for so many days without waking up. Of course he went to look for spirit herbs for you. Look for what spirit herbs? By some great stroke of luck, Shen Qingqiu had escaped certain death and come back with a full life bar, and that brat hadn't knelt by his bed waiting for him to wake, but left to run about? This is the sort of trivial matter that should be foisted off on your lackeys. Ning Yingying then muttered quietly. Wasn't it because all that Shushu and Shibo chased him off the mountain? Shen Qingqiu didn't even bother pretending to be cold and aloof. Unable to keep his face still, he let out a stifled laugh. Lo Binghe had offended far too many Sangchong Mountain sect members, so it made sense that they had run him off. But now, Lo Binghe actually understood to swallow his anger in words and had let himself be chased away. It was honestly pretty pitiful. However, as long as nothing was wrong, that was good. Like hell nothing was wrong! Shen Qingqiu's face paled with horror. Jiangmen Shishong! How could he have forgotten? There was still the matter of Yue Qingyan, who'd been at death's door. He rushed to flip himself back upright, then stuffed his feet in his shoes and ran outside. The others hadn't expected him to suddenly jump out of bed. They were all stunned for a moment, but then they ran after him. Mu Qingfan called, Shen Shishong, you really should lie back down! In a single breath, he'd run out of the Lingxi caves, the crisp, damp fragrance from the mountain that's suffusing his nose. Suddenly, a glittering bloom of golden fireworks exploded at the far edge of the pitch-black night sky. When he listened carefully, he heard the clamor of voices drifting over from Chongding Peak. What's going on? Shen Qingqiu asked as he put his shoes on properly. Why is there so much noise coming from Chongding Peak? Where's Jiangmen Shishong? Qi Qingqi straightened her crooked bodice and said peevishly, So you did remember to ask after Jiangmen Shishong a little. He's alive. Mu Qingfan smiled. Shen Shishong, you woke up at the perfect time. You won't miss the celebration. Upon hearing that Yue Qingyan was safe and sound, Shen Qingqiu breathed a sigh of relief. It seemed like Yue Qingyan, drawing his sword in the fight of Maiju Ridge, hadn't consumed his entire life force. If it had, Shen Qingqiu really wouldn't have known how to live with himself, and he couldn't say if anyone else knew Xuanshu's secret. His musings then took a turn, and being incredibly big-headed, he thought, what celebration? Could it be to celebrate him waking up? There was no need to go to such efforts and make it this grand. Now he was embarrassed. Lochinga seemed to have guessed Shen Qingqiu's thoughts, and he verbally slapped his face without hesitation. It's to celebrate the successful prevention of the merge, nothing to do with you. Can't you just celebrate a bit for me on the side? Shen Qingqiu asked sheepishly. Since it was the kind of grand celebration held for a major event where the entire world joined in on the jubilation, naturally the participants included more than the members of Changchong Mountain sect. All the sects that had participated in the battle at the Lowell River, both large and small, had been invited. Chongding Peak was a hubbub of voices, packed tightly with people as they jostled on one another. Shen Qingqiu even saw quite a few familiar faces. Those beautiful Taoist nun triplets were pestering a person with sweet and gentle words. In fact, it was a person who wore a veil, looked cool and elegant, and radiated an atmosphere of integrity. Luo Mingyan. When Shen Qingqiu observed Luo Binghe's harem together now, not a one of them seemed to be bested in beauty. He was filled with an intensely curious feeling. He looked on intently the way he always had, though he could no longer hold on to a male fantasy mentality while doing so. He sent 2 more side glances at them and only heard those serene sisters say coquettishly, "Good sister, good master, good senior, please give us an autograph. We went through so much difficulty to meet the author, please leave us a memento." Is it truly to be discontinued with no further reprints? Within their grasps they held a small gaudy book, which they pushed into Luo Mingyan's hands. It looked incredibly familiar. Shen Qingqiu puzzled over it for himself and felt it merited his attention. He was just thinking about walking closer to see what the 3 giant words on the cover were, when suddenly a skulking silhouette flashed by him. That's so funny. Oh my god. That's hilarious. She's been writing a fan fiction. Shen Qingqiu took a couple steps to catch up to that person and grabbed them. "You still have the guts to come to Qingding Peak?" he asked in a chilly voice. "You're not afraid of Qi Qingji cutting you into pieces?" Having been caught, Shang Qinghua almost fell to his knees on the spot, but when he heard Shen Qingqiu, he breathed a long sigh of relief. "Why be like this, cucumber bro?" he asked as he turned around. "No matter what, the 2 of us are comrades from the same hometown, friends forged in the heat of battle. Don't be so quick to chase me out. Since you dared me to come to Changchong Mountain, I assume you've already succeeded at whitewashing your reputation?" "Correct," said Shang Qinghua. "I was afraid I'd scare you if I said so. I might soon return to being the Anding Peak Lord, and it's all thanks to Binga. May he live long and prosper." "Yue Qingyan is taking you back?" "This is called the prodigal son's return, the wayward heir mending his ways. Besides, I've never done anything to offend the heavens, so why wouldn't he take me back?" Shen Qingqiu let go of him and said angrily, "Jiangmen Shishong is simply too kind." Shang Qinghua straightened his collar. Why else would he be so unfortunate? Kind people get taken advantage of. Shen Qingqiu looked him up and down. "Due to all my blind fumbling around, your entire novel has been distorted beyond recognition, but you don't seem unsatisfied at all." "I wouldn't say that," said Shang Qinghua. "Maybe to you it was only blind fumbling that was as worthless as shit, but to Binga, your blind fumbling might be the only meaning to the world's existence." To think Great Master Airplane shooting towards the sky could say such words. Shen Qingqiu was horrified. "And who is this distinguished gentleman?" "Don't be like that," Shang Qinghua said seriously. "I too am a young man with literary ideals, so of course I'd have my own thoughts and regrets." Shen Qingqiu sneered. "What literary ideals? How come the only thing I could see in your book was fan service with no bottom line, and your writing speed of 10,000 words a day with intermittent bursts of 20,000? That was your appeal. Without those underlying components, Proud Immortal Demon Way could never have made it past early serialization." Shang Qinghua shrugged. "Do you think I started out writing things with no moral integrity or bottom line? In the past, I wrote works of pure literature, but every single one flopped, so I could only start down the road of mass market products. You must know that writing a novel is a lonely thing. Compared to writing this kind of stallion guy who's everywhere on Zhongdian, it's better to portray a male lead like the current Binga, whose life is full of mishaps, whose personality is a bit more complex and full of contradictions and conflicts. That kind of weirdo. That's more in line with my writing philosophy." So your writing philosophy is about writing gays? Shen Qingqiu concluded. So your writing philosophy is about writing gays? Are you looking down on gay protagonists? The arts and artists love portraying gays. Pure literature highly favors gays. You know that, right? That's so funny. Shang Qinghua raised his arms high. Cucumber bro, he said, impassioned. If the system hadn't selected you, a loyal, die-hard reader, I'm afraid the plot would never have been distorted to this extent. Right back to the outline I discarded. I wasn't able to withstand the loneliness in real life and caved to financial pressure, so I chose to finish Proud Immortal Demon Way in accordance with others' tastes. However, thanks to you, everything that I wanted to write has already played out before me. Cucumber bro. He clapped Shen Qingqiu's shoulder solemnly, filled with deep emotion. You are the chosen one, and my career is at last wiped clear of regrets. Why did that make it sound like the system in this world were the creation of Shang Qinghua's regrets as an author who'd had to scrape his outline in favor of popular opinion? Shen Qingqiu found the idea of becoming this kind of chosen one too shameful. Who's your die-hard reader? Shang Qinghua waved. I won't talk to you about this, he said, unilaterally declaring his victory. You're an anti-fan. Shen Qingqiu was about to say, I'm only an anti, not a fan. But then he suddenly heard Shang Qinghua humming, something like, love warms, grace weighs, our lips come together, I wish this night would last unto the morn, all day, all night, unto eternity. The important part was that the tune was incredibly familiar, so familiar that Shen Qingqiu's hands and teeth itched. He pointed at Shang Qinghua. Shang Qinghua, what are you humming? Shang Qinghua continued to hum. We know not when one day becomes the next, nor when Zheng Yan's sun will finally rest. The rustle of autumn, Shuya unsheathed, icy water gushes forth, choking sobs. We plead, unfulfilled, and we start again. Shen Qingqiu was in disbelief. Fuck you, I dare you to sing another line. Master Shen, why don't you listen to this? Master Shen, why don't you listen to others? You absolutely must not fuck other people. Bingo will lose it. Let me tell you, right now, this regret of Chun-Shan has become something like the 18 Touches. And that is a Chinese folk song with several variants, famous for its risque nature, leading it to have been banned multiple times. The two of you are legendary gays known nationwide. Get it? You can go ahead and shut me up. I don't care, because ultimately, it'll be useless. You can't shut the mouths of everyone beneath the heavens. At last, Shen Qingqiu beat the crap out of Shang Qinghua the way he'd always wanted to. This asshole! This giant asshole! This kind of plot hole digging author who not only refused to fill his holes, but left everything unfinished, who rejoiced as his characters jumped the shark all the way to Siberia, who even dragged his reader in to patch up his work, saying, "You can, you up," really deserved to be beaten to death. He was just about ready to drag the whimpering airplane shooting towards the sky, currently prone like a corpse, into a small patch of pitch-black forest so he can continue with such beating, when he heard a familiar voice chanting Amitabha behind him. Master Wu Chen said, "Peak Lord Chen is safe and sound, truly 1,000 fortunes." Shen Qingqiu straightened and turned around to see the two abbots from the Jiaohua Monastery together with Yue Qingyan, walking slowly in his direction. He tossed Shang Qinghua aside and tidied himself a bit, then smiled sincerely from his heart. Jiang Men Shishong, Master Wu Chen, Master Wu Wang. There was no trace of weakness in Yue Qingyan's complexion as he smiled back. Wu Wang sent Shen Qingqiu a side glance, then walked off somewhere else, full of disdain. He had the expression of an old Taoist full of toxic feudal-era ideals who'd just seen a fallen woman. Shen Qingqiu felt like he'd been struck by lightning and shivered. "Please don't mind Wu Wang Shishong, Peak Lord Chen," said Master Wu Chen. Ever since this one lost his leg at Jinlan City, he'd been filled with hatred toward the demonic race, to the point even Peak Lord Shen. Shen Qingqiu rubbed his nose and said indifferently, "It's fine." Being disdained by a bald old donkey didn't matter much. Although, Master Wu Chen said, he's gotten much better now. In the period Tianlin Zhen has been staying in Jiaohua Monastery, he's never given him a hard time. "Your honored monastery took Tianlin Zhen into custody?" asked Shen Qingqiu. "Not really custody," said Master Wu Chen. "This one really wishes to freely discuss Buddhism with him while also helping to relieve the decay of the dew mushroom body. He'll stay for a couple of years until he's stabilized, then he can go wherever. At that time, whether he wishes to continue wandering the human realm or prefers to take Zhuzhilong's bones and return to the demon race will all be up to him. This one believes that there is no anger within him. Even if there had been once, it has since dispersed. Qianlin Jun's okay? Master Wu Chen's legs had been destroyed by the sowers in Jinlan City, and the sowers had been sent by Qianlin Jun, yet he hadn't taken this incident to heart at all. Shen Qingqiu's heart couldn't help but well with admiration. On top of that, this master's compassion was neither haphazard nor carelessly bestowed. At their final goodbye, Shen Qingqiu had also felt that Qianlin Jun no longer had any interest in destroying the world. From the start, it wasn't what he'd really wanted to do, or something he'd like doing. It was just, now that there was no Zhu Zhilang to foolishly follow him around and foot his bills, beat away miscellaneous soldiers, or collect interesting pocketbooks for him, it was probably inevitable that at times he'd feel sad. Did Zhu Zhilang die? Yeah, take Zhu Zhilang's bones? Is he dead? He can't be dead. I don't believe it. Just like the Shen Qingqiu at present. Zhaohua Monastery monks left first and walked towards Chongding Hall. He is dead? That's so sad. Oh. Qianlin Jun cared for him so much. Of course he'll be sad. He had a good exit, though. Zhaohua Monastery's monks left first and walked toward Chongding Hall, but even though he was the sect leader, Yue Qingyan didn't go with them. Instead, he stood in place, silently staring at Shen Qingqiu. For some reason, it had become comparatively more awkward. As if testing the waters, Yue Qingyan said, Xiaozhou? Xishang, said Shen Qingqiu. It's Chenzhou. Even though it would be too difficult to tell Yue Qingyan the truth, Shen Qingqiu still hoped he could demonstrate the difference in other ways. Yue Qingyan was stunned for a bit, then gave a small smile. It's Qingqiu Shidi. Shen Qingqiu looked at Xuansu at his waist. He had yet to speak when Yue Qingyan spontaneously said himself, Shidi need not worry. After a few more months of secluded cultivation, all should be well for a time. Then Jiangman Xishang must not impulsively draw his sword in the future, said Shen Qingqiu. One's cultivation can be improved, more breakthroughs can always be achieved, but one's life force can never be returned. Yue Qingyan gently shook his head. One's life force is not the only thing that cannot be returned. The two of them walked slowly toward Chongding Hall. Along the way, they heard the joyful laughter of young disciples and the bursts of fireworks overhead. What are your plans for the future? Asked Yue Qingyan. I have no plans for the time being, said Shen Qingqiu. First, I'll wait for Lo Binghe to return and see how he's doing. Yue Qingyan smiled. You truly adore that disciple. Shen Qingqiu was searching for a way to answer when Yue Qingyan said, Shidi, Sangzhong Mountain will forever be a place to which you can return whichever you tire of wandering the outside world. These words were said with utmost sincerity and solemnity. Yue Qingyan had always been this way. Whatever he promised, he would definitely deliver, and what he couldn't deliver, he would endeavor to make up for, no matter the cost. After assuming the role of this novel character, Shen Qingqiu had always refused to become the scum villain from the original work. He had drawn a clear boundary between them and taken great pride in walking the opposite path, so never before had he felt such a powerful and impulsive thought. If only he really were Shanzhou. If only that person could really hear these words. Shen Qingqiu's steps became slower and slower, when suddenly, like he'd sensed something, he raised his head and looked into the distance. On the other side of the crowd, right before it, was Lo Binghe. He stood at the foot of the white stone steps leading to Chongding Peak's main hall. He stood utterly alone, without a single person beside him. When the people walking past saw his face, their own faces filled with all sorts of expressions. Shen Qingqiu involuntarily ran forward a couple of steps, then turned his head to look at the person behind him. Go on, said Yue Qingyan. He stood behind Shen Qingqiu silent and with good grace. Aww. That's so cute. It was as if one was the past and the other the future. 1 year the demon race had not known what was good for itself, and so had come to Chongding Peak to provoke them with a show of strength. They spent a good chunk of time smashing, hitting, burning, and plundering, and had even smashed a bunch of floor tiles with a hammer. Lo Binghe was staring at a crack between the white tiles on the ground when he heard the familiar snap of a fan opening. A pair of white shoes stepped onto that stone crack, which was already spotted with green moss. He abruptly raised his head. Shen Qingqiu waved his fan. Don't say a word. First, let this master ask you. As a disciple, why did you not respectfully wait for your Shizen to wake up, but instead go to run around the outside world? Lo Binghe forced down his excited expression, suppressing himself. No one on Tangchong Mountain welcomes my presence, so I could only secretly come to check in from time to time. Just now, I didn't see Shizen in the Lingxi caves, and I thought that they'd hidden Shizen away, or that Shizen had left again. As Shen Qingqiu listened to this meek defense, he couldn't help but remember what Shang Qinghua had just said. If he hadn't gone around pestering and harassing everyone and everything, perhaps Lo Binghe really would have darkened to the core and become the young man in the original work, someone who'd rend a person into a human stick with his bare hands, who'd cursed the world and himself. Although now, instead, he'd become a lovesick young man, so it wasn't really that much better, but at least he'd gained some lovable qualities. Or at least, Shen Qingqiu had finally realized that he was quite fond of them. Oh, that's really sweet. Shen Qingqiu sighed. You knew you weren't welcome, and you still dutifully sent me back to Sangchong Mountain? I thought that when Shizen woke up, he would definitely prefer seeing Sangchong Mountain first. Without caring about his image, Shen Qingqiu broke character and smacked Lo Binghe's forehead with his fan. Resentful of Lo Binghe's actions, he said, "Of course what this master most wanted to see first was you!" Oh! That's so cute. Lo Binghe had taken a thwack from a fan, but he was so excited that his entire face flushed red, his eyes becoming watery, like he wanted to speak but couldn't. Shen Qingqiu's entire body felt like it was going weak from his gaze. Then suddenly, sounds of yelling and the clang of blades rose around them. Yang Yisheng... wait. Then suddenly, sounds of yelling and the clang of blades rose around them. Yang Yixuan stood on the eaves of Chongding Peak's main hall and shouted, "Sure enough, that demon ruffian came back to harass Shen Shibo!" Hundreds of people responded to his call, and someone immediately shouted along with him, "That bastard still has the gall to show his face! Get your weapons! Where's my weapon?" "That's my sword! Xishang, give it back! If you want to fight, go back and get yours!" No wonder Lo Binghe hadn't hung around and waited for him to wake up. Merely showing his face on Sangchong Mountain had people screaming their intent to attack him. The warmth of his welcome was eminently clear. "Ah, not bad. Your judgment was correct," Shen Qingqiu said helplessly. "Under these circumstances, sneaking in is indeed your only option." "I already said before that I wasn't welcome here," Lo Binghe said in a quiet voice. Shen Qingqiu patted his head. "That's fine. Shizen welcomes you." It's so cute. Chongding Peak clamored with roars for violence, some genuine, some insincere, raring to have a go, just a bunch of people who craved nothing but havoc. In even greater numbers were the peaceful passerbys, all turning a blind eye to the devil in human form that was Lo Binghe. Shen Qingqiu didn't know whether to laugh or cry. "Why don't we leave then?" he asked. For a moment, Lo Binghe couldn't manage to react. "Leave?" Shen Qingqiu nodded. "Didn't you say that you weren't welcome here? Then let's leave and go somewhere that does welcome you." He added, "This time, no matter where you wish to go, this master will accompany you." Lo Binghe's face had always appeared very quick and clever, but now his expression was thoroughly dumbfounded because of these few words. It was hard to look at. Other than Sangchong Mountain disciples, Chongding Peak was also packed with the cultivators from various sects who'd come to attend the celebration. On top of their senses being sharp, Shen Qingqiu had also deliberately refused to lower his voice, so of course everyone had heard him very clearly. As one, they all feigned ignorance. The ones who'd been watching the fireworks pointed and gestured at the sky, and the ones who'd been lightly chuckling now laughed loud enough to raise the roof. They were being very cooperative, showing consideration for Sangchong Mountain's dignity. But Lo Qingge didn't appreciate this. He jumped down from the eaves and yelled at Shen Qingqiu, practically incoherent with rage. "Hey!" There's a picture. This is so cute. I'm loving this so much. Qi Qingqi was beside herself with anger. "I don't care anymore. Go wherever you like. Shen Qingqiu, you, both of you. Mingyan, let's go. What are you looking at? What's there to see? Is this your first time bearing witness to such shamelessness?" "Shimei, careful of the karma in your words. Mind the image of our respected Sangchong Mountain." Exactly what deep-set image did Sangchong Mountain have in the people's hearts outside of covering for the faults of their own, the director of demolitions, their intimacy with demons, and their master-disciple pair who'd starred in a famous porno? Shen Qingqiu considered this for a while and came up empty. Initially, he'd been pulling Lo Binghe along by the hand. Who knew when it had become Lo Binghe pulling him along instead? Oh. He felt those 5 fingers on the back of his hand slowly tighten, clamping down until it hurt. Lo Binghe gently raised his head, and the entire night sky with its river of stars sparkled with the depths of its Lo Binghe gently raised his head, and the entire night sky with its river of stars sparkled within the depths of his pitch-black eyes. It was almost like, if he wasn't careful, some glittering treasures would fall from them. Shen Qingqiu took this all in stride. Looking back on everything, his heart had transformed, becoming like that of an old monk on a pilgrimage to retrieve scriptures. He'd suffered through 81 hardships, and after much pain and struggle, finally produced the right result. So, let him cry. After all, Lo Binghe always behaved this way. A plot with so many ups and downs and such intense chaos and disorder, to the point that it was constantly like being struck by lightning on a clear day. Honestly, Shen Qingqiu also wanted to burst into tears. And with this peerlessly bizarre book's complete and successful transformation, Great Master Airplane Shooting Towards the Sky's career was now doubtlessly devoid of regrets, while the unparalleled ranting critic Peerless Cucumber could no longer say he disdained it the way he once had either. The author wouldn't fill in the plot holes, so this great one had been forced to take matters into his own hands. In the long river of history of great and mighty Zhongdian stallion novels, what reader had led the charge like him, heartily coughing up blood while putting himself on the line to fill in plot holes just to rescue the B-points of a brainless power fantasy, a peerless marvel of work that had the writing quality of a grade school essay. Even though the direction had gone a bit awry during said rescue process, at least he'd really managed to achieve "you can, you up, no can, no BB." The moment Shen Qingqiu had flipped open Proud Immortal Demon Way, the story had begun, but as he shut Proud Immortal Demon Way, the story had yet to end. Or perhaps the story circulating throughout the world might already have ended, but the story between you and me has only just begun. Oh my god! Oh my god! Oh my god! That was so... I got so many butterflies at the end there. Oh... That's so cute. That's so romantic and cute, and I really, really loved it. Oh, Sugar Kiss, thank you for gifting 5 memberships! I love how MXTX ended Heaven Official's Blessing, you know, with the big banquet at the end and everyone's all together. And I love that everybody was all together at the end of this as well. Oh my god. I really like that ending quote. I also love it says, he really managed to achieve, you can, no, you up, you no can, no BB. The moment Shen Qingqiu had flipped open Proud Immortal Demon Way, the story had begun, but as he shut Proud Immortal Demon Way, the story had yet to end. Or perhaps the story circulating through the world might have already ended, but the story between you and me has only just begun. Ah! Oh. That's so cute. Orion says, super fun to reread this with everyone. Absolutely my favorite of MXTX's works. Oh my gosh. That was awesome. I was really, really, really happy to read that with everyone. Yes, we still have a whole book of extras. Oh my goodness gracious. Wow, I can't wait to just lay down and think about this, you know? There are so many things that I had assumed about this book based on just things I'd like encountered from the fandom that I had so wrong, or things that I assumed about the plot that were so wrong. I totally thought that Shen Jingcho's poison that he got in like the first book, that like somehow Binghe's dick was gonna cure him. I thought that that was how they were in the fuck or die scenario. But really it was Shen Jingcho knowing what crazy Binghe, like the only thing that could tempt and distract crazy Binghe in this obsessive state would be like if he let him fuck him. In an utter act of love and sacrifice. Oh my god. That was crazy. Yeah, literally rip his ass. Jeez. It's more explicit than Morazushi? Oh my god, really? Haruka, thank you so much for your donation. Haruka says, after you finish the extras, it'd be so cool to have another stream where you give us your thoughts after having time to think about the entire story. Yeah, I would love that. I would love to do that. We'll do an extras stream this week. I'm away this weekend. I'll be here for Friday for the members stream, but maybe we could do it. Maybe we could do it Wednesday. Yeah, maybe Wednesday or Thursday. I'll make a post in the members only community area to let you know if it'll be Wednesday or Thursday. Oh man, that was really, really fun to do with you guys. I just, there's always this like, this deep satisfying feeling that feels so like personal when you finish a book, you know, where you just like all of your emotions and like, this is why I cannot handle a sad ending. Like, oh, it would affect me so deeply. Like, a happy ending affects me so deeply still, you know? The one thing I will say is that I think how Shen Jingcho's, like, love for him developed was really subtle. I kind of brought it up last time. It's like boiling a frog, like you don't realize it before it's too late, and I thought that was done so well. It's like slowly he stops having those inner thoughts that are like, clinging to the male lead's thighs, that's only something a woman would do. I'm not gonna do that. And instead he just starts like acting. Like he's acting on his feelings. He's having feelings. You don't get as much of his insight being like, that would be ridiculous if someone were to do this. It's like he just does the ridiculous thing. I do think it was funny though that even though once he becomes aware of his fondness and everything, and like when Shang Qinghua teases him about it, he still beats the shit out of him. the Holy Mausoleum was a turning point for him. Yeah, like once he realized Binghe was completely innocent, and once he realized Binghe had it so hard, I think he let his guard down after that. And I do think he probably always had this sort of like attraction towards Binghe that he was, you know, suppressing, even if it was a subconscious thing, you know. If it ends up being Thursday, could it be at 5 p.m.? That sounds like I could make that work. Right now, I'll make sure about my schedule if anything changes. Good night, Kate. Thanks for sticking around. I can't believe we finished Scum Villain. I can't believe we finished it. Oh my god. Yeah, I was not expecting the final boss moment. And like, Qianlin Jun's story was so fucking sad. That was so sad. It's like, he was an unreliable narrator, but in the way that I don't think he actually knew himself. Like, I don't think he was actively being like, I'm not gay. Like, I don't think he, like, truly, I do think he was oblivious for a long while. It's like, why do I feel this way when I'm around Binghe? I don't know. It's not like I feel this way I'm around Binghe. I have to act another way. You know what I mean? He was unreliable not because he was lying, but because he was blind. Yes. Also, I guess there's another extra to find out more about Yue Qingyan, but it seemed like he didn't do anything wrong. Like, it seemed like he truly tried his hardest to come back and just failed, right? It's not like he tried to fuck Shenzhou over, right? Lots of very impactful relationships in this book, even more like between the side characters. Like, if I were to praise TGCF for something outside the romance, I would say that there are lots of side characters that are very compelling with their own stories. But I would say for this novel, to praise an aspect outside the romance and the comedy would be the secondary characters and their relationship to Shen Qingqiu were very compelling as well. Kuz says, yeah, Shen Qingqiu isn't even acknowledging his emotions often or rationalizes them away using mental gymnastics. Tears, that's just some liquid from physical stimuli. Infectious, only notice them now. Yeah, and then by the end, he's literally talking about Binghe's tears are like stars dripping out of his eyes, and then he's like, and if I cried too, so what? Let myself cry. Ugh. That's crazy. I also do love that it doesn't have to spell everything out for you. He didn't have to spell his emotions out for you. It's more like you feel it. You feel the weight of the actions. It's a genuine show don't tell. You feel Shen Qingqiu's love for Binghe by the end of it. You don't need him to say, Binghe, I'm in love with you. everything that he did for him showed his love. Like, for real. That was really good. Some people say Shen Qingqiu's not in love with Lo Binghe. What? Just ignore people like that, man. They are just rage baiting, or they didn't read the book. I guarantee so many people that have beef with MXTX or even just like the English translations and stuff like that didn't even read the whole book, because these are so good. CSCL says, highly curious as your impressions of Mo Xiang before we get to the extras. Okay. I think I feel like it was definitely giving like Beef Leaf in a way of like, it's the like you kind of immediately get like, oh, this is like a side pairing, right? But then it became like real when Shang Qinghua like was like, oh fuck, he can't fly, and like reached out to save him, because that seemed like so genuine. Like that was like a real moment, because Shang Qinghua is so like jokey and very selfish the whole story, but then when Mo Beijun's life was in danger, he fucking took action, and I feel like that was really revealing, you know? And then there was that other moment where Mo Beijun protected Shang Qinghua, even though he's the one that's always beating the shit out of Shang Qinghua. So it was kind of like a, like, no one else can touch my guy kind of thing, which makes it seem like the foundations of a very good ship, you know? I would love to hear them talk. I would love to hear a conversation between them. I would love to watch them kiss. Leonara says, out of all of MXTX's couples, Wei Wuxian was the only one who needed to flat out say, I love you, but that's because Lan Wangji needed it spelled out. Yeah, because Wei Wuxian fucked up that moment after their, like, first time so bad by giving Lan Wangji the impression that everything that Lan Wangji was interpreting that could have potentially been romantic between them was just something just guys do. And so how do you can't walk that back, because everything you would do physically after that, you just basically told Lan Wangji it was just things guys do, so it had to be verbal in that case. I fancy you. Diana says, usually it's ones who ship Liu Qingge with Shen Yuan who throw shade on Shen Qingqiu and Lo Binghe. That's so funny, because I just feel like you can read the novel, see clearly what the plot of the novel is, which is the endgame romance with Shen Qingqiu and Lo Binghe. Like, how can the weight of that is so beautiful, and then you can go and ship whatever you want to ship just for fun, but like, it's undeniable that that was what was written, you know? JT Joyful says, demon courting rituals, they're attracted to strong, so they are literally fighting and dueling, and hitting is literally flirting. Oh my god! Oh my god! So they were flirting a lot. Yeah, Orion, I think it's one of those things where it's like, to me, like, deeply, right now, like, the ship between Shen Qingqiu and Lo Binghe, like, it's not even a ship, like, it's the genuine love that's real. Like, I just read this 3-book series on their love together, and yet I see how he could have a relationship with Yue Qingyan. It's like you could see, it's like you kind of see the potential relationships But then there's like the through line that is the relationship he has currently with Lo Bangha. But if you were enticed by any of the other ships, you just, you know, that's why fan fiction and fan art exists. And I feel like the side ships in Scum Villain make a lot more sense than any side ships in Heaven Official's Blessing. I truly can't fathom a ship with Hua Chung with anybody else, you know? Shen Qingqiu's wife beam was too strong. Truly. Yeah, it's funny because it's like, you can look at it in a way of like, it's not that deep, but you can also look at it in a way of like, this book was so deep and so impactful to me that I don't want to imagine it any other way. So I can see both sides of like multi-shipping and singular shipping. But that being said, I'm the type of person that I feel like if the art is good, I'll retweet it. I don't think too deeply about it. Aunties are like, did you see how Lo Bangha acted? I mean, he was kind of being mega manipulated by an evil sword. And he was horrified when he, like, woke up and saw what happened. Yeah, you can tell that Shen Yuan loves it. Shizen's pretending to hate the affection of their disciples. One of my favorite tropes. Bing Cho is freak for freak. They definitely belong together. Oh my god, it's almost 10 o'clock. Holy fuck. The entire time reading, I did not look at the clock once. I didn't even realize it. I didn't even realize when we got to like a halfway point or something. I was just like, oh, this is so compelling. I don't want to stop. Oh my god. Holy shit. Well, guys, thank you so much for joining me on this Scum Villain journey. It's not over. We do have the extras, but that was a really, really impactful ending, and I really enjoyed it. And reading it with you guys has been so special, and it's only made me want to read more stories with you guys. So I hope that you stick around. I hope that you continue to come and hang out and chat with me, because this is so much fun. Thank you, Emma. Let's spam Jung Chung failing a kickflip in the chat. Or 07. Sorry, Shizen. Big time. And I will, I think, see you guys Thursday, maybe Wednesday. I'll give the members a heads up. Awesome. I love you guys, and I hope you have a good night. And remember that, oh, what was the final line? But the story between you and me has only just begun.